No, I've lost the... There it is.
The following has been brought to you by SJP World Media.
Hey, yo.
Hey, yo.
What the fuck have you got round your neck?
I'm just showing how willing I am to come and do the show for these people with my broken neck, whereas you welched, didn't you? Because of a poorly broken neck.
You piece of shit. The thing is, we were speaking just before going live, and you didn't have that on. So you've literally done a Vince McMahon at the steroid trial and popped on a neck brace to make everyone feel sorry for you.
And also to take the piss out of you and your injured neck.
Oh, mate, I couldn't turn my head. Honestly, it was all down there. Yeah, but that's through choice, isn't it? Because you got a stupid flaming collar on your knobhead.
It was me, Si, all along.
Oh, it's been a little while, mate, hasn't it? How you doing?
Oh, you've been a rat scarver every week. Sorry, mate. Can't do a podcast this week. I have got another life problem.
Stuff comes up, mate, doesn't it? You know,
It does.
Work, no work, and then work again, and then bad neck. But we're back.
We are back.
We are, and there is a lot to get through. We have a pretty decent wrestling match to talk about later on, I think, in my opinion. Magsy probably fucking disagrees, but we'll get to that shortly. We've obviously got the Royal Rumble that happened this weekend to talk about, you know, the actual event itself. And I went to Birmingham and met up with a few people from the CWF and from our little circle and so on. Magsy's disappeared now. Look, where you gone, Mags?
I forgot to turn my mic on.
I was going to say, you do sound a bit echoey.
I think I've turned my camera off instead.
You have turned your camera off, yeah. It's not going well, mate, is it? Because you arrived in the studio roughly 90 seconds before we were supposed to go live. And then Magsy's gone completely now, has he? Okay, well, this is wonderful, isn't it? What a professional return we have had. Magsy arrived in the studio 90 seconds before we were supposed to go live. Started uploading all the stuff we're supposed to be doing. Literally, like I said, 90 seconds before we were supposed to go live. Then when we went live, he'd forgotten to press the button that says go live in the top corner just here. And he's back. And we're the wrong way around now. There we go. That's better.
Oh, it was doing so well. I mean, I could literally slagging me off in the background. So
I can hear you properly now.
I forgot that you have to start the intro music before we go live. That was stupid. I then got to turn my mic on in the first place. And so when I reached to turn my mic on, I turned my camera off. And then when I turned my mic back on, it kicked me out of the room. So
bloody hell.
Great start.
Unbelievable. Anyway, like I was saying, the Royal Rumble was this weekend. We could have a little chat about the event coming up, I suppose. Also, a few of us went down to Birmingham and met up to watch it in a pub, something I've never done before. So we've got a little bit to discuss there. So, you know, various other podcasters and members of the CWF and so on. So that was good fun there. So we'll touch upon a few things from that weekend as well. We've got a non-wrestling topic that the last time we did it, it ended up becoming absolute carnage. And
it
cringy.
Was a bad idea.
And whose idea was it, Mags?
Yeah, it might have been yours.
Was
50% chance it was your idea.
There's a 50% chance, but the fact of the matter is, it was you.
It was. I forgot how terrible it went last time, and I thought this will be a good idea. And yeah, it's not. It was not a good idea.
No, it's not. I've got an absolute barnstormer of a link as well out of the match later on to potentially for the for where we go next week.
Which will probably win because it'll be in black and white, and it'll be two wrestlers that only you have ever heard of.
No. It's actually
Barry Windham versus
well, other people have heard of Barry Windham, not just
Stan
me.
Hansen in a fucking Texas bull rope match.
Tell you what, I'd watch that. But anyway,
you absolutely would watch that.
We've got Hogan is a Billy Bullshitter again, of course, to close the show. And we also have Hall of Lame stroke fame, depending on which way me and Magsy want to go. We don't discuss about this beforehand. And mine changed half an hour before the show started. I was going Hall of Fame, but I'm going Hall of Lame now with something that I think needs to be spoken about. But anyway, that's what's coming up in the next 90 minutes to an hour, or 2 hours, or however long it takes us to get through all of that stuff. So, shall we begin, Mags?
We shall. I mean, I thought we already had.
Well, fuck me. How many times are you going to interrupt this night? How many times are you going to do this?
Sorry.
Ready?
Just another one.
Fucking prick. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. See, I defeated. I signed now.
I broke you already. I brought you more than you brought your stack of dimes.
My neck. Wherever, whenever you may be listening or watching from, this is Chain Wrestling Live with Mags and Si, an SJP World Media production, episode 143. Holy fucking shit. Or 111 live. I am Si, and with me as always is the Lex Luger. To my smelly pooper. More on that in a moment. There's a story that goes along with that. It'll make sense shortly. The Dusty. To my lusty, because Bailey was in that match for an hour, so I get to stare at her for 60 plus minutes. Lovely jubbly. And a podcaster who I wish was in Birmingham with us this weekend, mate. Lord Mags, how are you?
I'm doing good. Yeah, it would have been nice to be there. I mean, I was actually in Birmingham for a work thing last week.
Yes.
So yeah, maybe I should have stayed over. Yeah, I'm doing good. Still got the shitty weather up here. We've been hit by 3 storms in the time that we've been away.
Okay.
Which kind of segues into the first topic that I'll bring up. And
Chicken News with Mags, only on Chain Wrestling.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've done a chicken news. It's been easy going with the ladies for the last few months, but over these 3 or 4 weeks where we've had horrific Storm Asher and then Storm Jocelyn, and then this next one I think they've called it Storm Charlie or something like that. They've had it rough. It's been a lot of shitty, windy weather. And the coop that they've got is basically a shed that we kind of emptied out from like tools and the gubbins you store, and reformed it into this chicken coop for them. And with sheds, they normally have like felt roofs, and ours was a typical one, and it did. And the storm ripped pretty much all of the felt off the roof, like exposing all the particle board underneath. So in the days where it wasn't absolutely pissing down and blowing a gale, I was out on a ladder, bitumen painting and refelting a roof for the chickens. So they were all like hanging around their plush chicken run, which I think I've told you before. We've laying now with wood, so they've got it pretty posh there now, and they're all there watching me. And then all of a sudden, the ladder slips about 3 or 4 inches because, like an idiot, I didn't put anything down on the grass surface to protect the ladder from sinking. And being a husky gentleman, kind of in the mode of Dusty Rhodes himself, I put a lot of pressure on that ladder, and that ladder has 4 legs sunk right into the mud. So whilst I've got a paintbrush full of very sticky tar-like paint, the ladder decided to drop 4 inches, and I ended up nearly painting my whole face with this bitumen. But the job got done, and the chickens have got a new palatial chicken coop again. So yeah, I've nearly killed myself for some of my feathered friends.
Wow, it's commitment, though, mate, isn't it? Commitment to the
It
cause.
is.
They give you eggs every day.
I mean,
so.
I steal their babies and eat them. So
I hate
quid
it when
pro
you word
quo.
it like I hate it when you word it like that. I really do.
I say it to them though. I'm not shy about it. They'll come in and when I go into the chicken coop to collect the eggs, and you go into the nest boxes, and they're coming in to have a nosy, see what you're doing. And I said, "Listen, girls, I'm just stealing your babies so I can have an omelette." And they're like,
That could
and
really
then
that could be traumatizing for them.
it's actually, to be truthful, it's more traumatizing if you don't collect them every day, because they'll get used to eggs being there and they'll try and sit on them to hatch them. And when they don't hatch because they're not fertilized eggs, that actually can make them mentally ill. They get
No.
permanently broody. So I'm doing them a favor, really.
What I mean is, not taking away the eggs every day could be mentally tormenting them. I understand that has to be done. I mean, telling them I'm going to eat your babies. That's what I'm getting at.
There's a slight problem with that. They don't understand English.
Yeah, but
I
you
think
don't know
they
that.
may be foreign chickens.
They might be foreign chickens. Well, hopefully you never turn around and say it in French or something, and they pick up on what you mean, eh?
And peck me to death.
Oh dear. Magsy, Royal Rumble this weekend. Did you watch the show?
I bloody did.
What did you
Royal
think?
Rumble for me is the best show in the wrestling year. I absolutely love Royal Rumble. If I could only watch one pay-per-view every year, it would be that year's Royal Rumble. It's just something about a Rumble. It's just the best thing ever. And this, I think the women's Royal Rumble was easily the best women's Royal Rumble we've ever had. And it could very well be one of the top 10 Rumbles ever. It was brilliant.
Wow.
I thought the women's Rumble was really well booked. The surprises were absolutely awesome. The storylines continuing throughout the match, the comedy spots, and then the winner absolutely deserved. The stars that they made in that Rumble, I think the women's Rumble was almost a perfect Rumble. I really, really enjoyed it. It was really good. The two middle matches, they were all right. Get the Roman Reigns winning the title by interference is getting a bit tedious now, but you can see where they're going with it. And the men's Rumble was because the women's Rumble was so good. The men's Rumble just, I don't think, lived up to it. It was still a decent Rumble.
Flat, wasn't it? It was a bit.
Yeah. I mean, Bron Breakker, absolute star in it. I thought the spot, especially he did with Arvar, was stunning. Where Arvar was doing the spring off the middle rope and he caught him with the spear. That was amazing. The Pat McAfee thing felt a bit weird. Like he was taking Brock Lesnar's spot, and it was just a filler. The winner was actually a surprise. I thought they were going to Punk, but I think it kind of nails something that the friend of the show, Mr. Ray Cash, said to me whilst we were watching the event. It proves that Cody it's the guy now for WWE. He's the future face of the company. He's the man that Triple H is pinning to be the number one guy in the company. To go back to back with Rumbles, something that only Hogan and Austin and Shawn Michaels have done. That means
that's huge. Yeah,
they mean Cody means an absolute world to the WWE. So I was happy with that winner. It kind of clears out some of what's going to happen at WrestleMania, I think. But for me, the star of the event was Jade Cargill. She looked phenomenal for her first WWE match. They have made her look $1 million. I mean, AEW did a lot of the groundwork, and props to them for that. But in that one match, she looks a bigger star in WWE than she ever looked in AEW. The spot with Nia Jax where she just lifted her up and then with one arm was pausing and then basically just yeets her out of the ring. brilliant. And her versus Bianca Belair is going to be brilliant. Her versus any of the 4 horsewomen is going to be absolutely superb. I thought the women's event was brilliant. I really, really did.
Yeah, it was. It was good. It was good. Obviously, I met up with a few people who are in the chat now, actually. Dan Griffin, Pigs Butters, Morty, and various other people as well. We met up in a pub in Birmingham for a Hooked on Wrestling event, I believe it's called.
Okay, yeah. The ones, the same company that the Cultaholic guys were doing with, but I think they're in London.
I got no idea. Yeah, they got like 5 or 6 events throughout the UK. Tugboat or the Shockmaster or whatever was hosting the London one, which is interesting. It was really, it was a lovely time. Don't get me wrong. It was really interesting because I'd never done anything like that before. I've watched a wrestling event with a couple of mates, or I've watched wrestling events on my own. Obviously, I watched it with my wife and Charlie quite often. I've never been in a venue watching on the screen, in almost like watching football in the pub. It was that kind of atmosphere.
Yeah.
And you had all the entrance themes being played over the speaker system before the event, and everyone was singing along to them. And there was like a dress up cosplay competition, which was pretty cool. People dressed up in there's this one lass who dressed up like Cody Rhodes, and she made the whole blue, white, and it looked amazing. A guy dressed up like Jeff Hardy, he looked the business as well. Face paint and the glove stuff and all that. Really good stuff. Really good stuff. And when the show started again, brilliant. And it's such great fun seeing everybody. The social aspect was absolutely brilliant. I loved it. The other side of the coin is I realized how much I missed not watching it with Sharon and Charlie. It's so weird because it's my regular thing. So things were happening. And at one point, I actually legit turned to the side to speak to Sharon. And of course, she's not there. You know, and when Jay Cargill,
the lovely Dan Griffin looking at you, and you were like, oh.
And then when Jay Cargill came out, obviously Charlie being such a big AEW fan, my thought straight away was I want to see Charlie's reaction. But of course, I'm not there. So, but apparently they had the Fire Stick with the WWE Network upstairs on the big telly just behind me here. You can't actually see it on the screen, and they watched it in bed and ended up falling asleep before the finish anyway.
Oh wow.
So, but yeah, it was. But I mean, there was much alcohol consumed as well, Magsy. And I'm not a young man anymore. I got to plan a tactical nap and so on. And I didn't really plan ahead very well with regards to food for the weekend. Dan Griffin fantastically organised a meal for quite a few people to go to. I didn't fancy that, purely because that's the time. Sorry,
because you were having a liquid lunch.
Well, I thought to myself, that's the time I want to go to sleep. Was when they were eating. So, whereas Dan went to sleep a little bit earlier, but I thought if I do that, I'm still going to be tired later. I need to sleep nearer to the event time. So I thought I'd just grab a burger or something. I'd grab some food from elsewhere or anything like that. It turns out the only thing that I could eat, and literally I left my house Saturday, got on the train, had a couple of bottles of Stella on the train on the way down, got in the pub with Morty and Dan, had a few more beers. Wasn't until we got to the hotel that I realised that there's no food. So there's these crappy little sandwiches in these plastic triangular carton things in a little fridge that's narrower than where I'm sitting now, and a couple of pot noodles. So that's basically what I lived on for Saturday and Sunday.
So I had petrol station sandwiches.
I had Dan Griffin there saying the hotel had a restaurant. Yeah, but I realised that Sunday afternoon as I was just leaving.
So there was food available. It's just you didn't know where to go for the food.
Pretty much, mate. Pretty much. I didn't really want to pay too much money either. So, and I was half cut by the time I got to the hotel anyway. So yeah, I ended up having a couple of not very filling sandwiches, a pot noodle, and then these peri peri chicken crisps, which at the time were fantastic, but ended up being an absolute mistake. I had those when I got back to the hotel room at the end of the Rumble. We got back about, correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, it must be about 20 past 5, something like that. It was about a 10-15 minute walk from the venue to where we were staying. Went to bed. I was pissed up, but I felt all right. Went to bed. Woke up the following morning, and it's that thing of, belly's a bit bubbly. You got the after dinner, the after drinking poos coming up. The old beer bum and all this sort of stuff. So I went and sat down on the lavvy. I'm bollock naked, which is not a sight anyone wants to see. And I got a message off Millwall Chris saying that he's waiting for me downstairs in the lobby because he had a couple of signed wrestling pictures. For Charlie primarily. There's Orange Caster one he'd given to Charlie, which is lovely of him and so on. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll be down in 10 minutes. Because in my head, I'm thinking, quick shit, quick shower, out the door. So I'm bonnet naked, sat on the toilet, and it went raw, and it just exploded. It was horrific.
like a costume of a man.
It was awful, mate. It was awful. And it was just like the beer and the crappy food. But all I could smell, well, first of all, it was one of the worst poos I've had in my whole life. It stank that bad. It was horrific. Like your own shit never smells quite as bad as it never smells quite as bad as other people's shit, does it? Other people's shit always smells worse. This is the worst shit I've ever smelled, including other people's.
You were offended by your own.
It was horrific, mate. But it didn't just smell of upset stomach bad shit. Through the pooey odor came those peri peri crisps.
I'm getting the taste of peri peri.
And I was like, oh God. And that turned as soon as I caught that turned my stomach. And I ended up standing up, turning around, and then throwing up on my own poo.
Oh, the pooey splashback. Oh no.
So I could have stood there, bonnet naked, flushed the toilet, turned the shower on, got in and thought, I'm supposed to beat Mill Chris in 5 minutes. Fucking hell.
And cried in the showers. It leaked out of you.
Just sat there going, I really want to be at home with my wife and kids right now.
With your feet treading in muddy brown water.
Oh, it was terrible, mate. It was terrible. And Matt Lewis there, amazing comment in the chat. You don't get this on the volley.
Exactly. And that's why this is the flagship.
Oh, dear. Shall we dive into the chat, Magsy, and have a little scan through what people have been saying?
There's lots to go at. So King Pig Banners, hello, sir. And again, thank you for the lovely artwork, which I have modified slightly to impress Sar with the black and white and the noise like a fuzzy television. But yeah, amazing artwork as always. In the original, I think I'm Dusty and Sar's painted as Lex Luger, which is a bit unfair. But anyway, and he then King Pig Brothers then says, "Evening, gents." Dan Griffin says, "Evening, CWF. Been a minute, boy. It's good to be back." Yeah, thank you, Dan, and it's good to have you back, sir. Ryan, aka JRT, aka Nishka, says, "Hey, it's Dan Griffin. I was just talking to him elsewhere. See, podcasts basically crossing the lines. Yeah, interesting." Morty Jr., hello, sir. How are you? He says, can't stay for long, leaving at 4:45 in the morning. But hello, you lovely lot. Well, get yourself an early night and make sure you listen on the audio backwards. But not backwards, back.
No, not backwards.
The first lady of the SJP World Media Channels, Sharon, says it's Monday night. You know what that means? Well, it hasn't been that for the last 3 weeks because of old Scarveratus over here. But
hang on, you bastard. Hang on. Before we carry on with that, the one night you literally said, "Well, I'm in Birmingham. Let's knock it on the head tonight." Anyway, you were in full agreement.
Right, but I did say let's switch it to Tuesday, and you went, "No, fuck that."
I was busy already Tuesday.
Yeah,
you knob.
See, there we go. So I provided alternatives, and you just said no. Matt Lewis, hello, sir. How are you? He says, "Welcome to the volley." Wait, wrong show. Hey, boys. Yeah, exactly. Don't besmirch us with that Liverpool talk. And oh, what a good day it was to be anyone but Liverpool. Jurgen Klopp. He just had enough, Ante. Just don't want anything to do with you scumbags anymore.
He's fed up of his wheels of his car getting stolen every time he pulls up anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's going off topic. I think that's going to start a managerial merry-go-round very, very soon. There's going to be some chopping and the changing because I think Xavi has quit at Barcelona as well, or he's stepping down at the end of the season. So perhaps we'll see some changes there. Back to Dan Griffin, he says it's Rod and Max Strong. Yeah, I mean, there's actually nothing wrong with my neck. I was just faking it for comedy purposes, whereas Sar was faking it because he couldn't be arsed podcasting. Nishka says, "You're dumb, Matt." Connor, hello, sir. Says, "Hello, Mags and Sar. Lovely to see your faces again. Thank you very much, and we appreciate it." Facebook user, hey, gentlemen. Well,
I do not know who that is.
Facebook user.
I imagine that is our good friend Tyler Peters. It normally is in the Facebook group, yeah.
Hello, Tyler, if that is your real name. Morty says, Joel Gertner is looking good. Well. I am, aren't I? King Pigs Banner says, hey, CWF. Sharon says, good evening, CWF. Dan says, Sar tried his best to kill his liver over the weekend to avoid tonight as well. There we go, see? Exactly. I think behind the scenes, I'm going to have a chat with Sadie saying, I'm not feeling it anymore. Let's just knock it on the head.
No, mate.
Because he's got Nitro Nights back, I'm now the red-headed stepchild that he doesn't want to have anything to do with.
Not at all. Not at all.
Anyway, back to Dan Griffin. He says that they've been away a while. Will they be more professional? Will they fuck? No. I mean, we can't get it right when we're doing it week on week and it becomes habit. We take more than a week off. We're fucked. It's like the first ever time we've ever podcasted again.
Yeah.
Matt Lewis says never change. I mean, I'm too old and ugly to change now.
Yeah, I think we're pretty.
All my changing is done.
Yeah.
King Pigs Banner says, hey, Dan and Mortar. Dan says, King Pigs Banner is good to see you still rocking. Matt is upset that he didn't get an invite. Matt, do you not take a hint? You never get invited to anything because nobody likes you, really.
Dude.
I know I'm joking. I love Matt. He's one of the best. Absolutely one of the best. I'm sure just keep pestering one of them and you'll get an invite. Just bully your way in. That's the best way to do it. King Pig Banner says he loved that chair.
I don't know what that's a reference to.
I'm sure we'll find out. Cam in the chat. Hello, sir. How are you? He says, hey, you're CWF. And Dan says, can't wait to see how Sar gets to Barry Windham. I think Barry Windham was on the card earlier in so it'll probably be that. Morty says, ooh, snipper. Barry who from Matt Lewis, the 33rd best Barry in wrestling, Matt. That's who it is. You've missed that, certainly. King Pig Banner says, hey, Cam. Cam returns the favour, says, hey, sir. Morty says, Cam Griffin. I mean, everybody should say Cam Griffin like that with an
Cam.
Sharon also welcoming Cam. Matt says, Sar sounded like Dan Griffin after Klopp's announcement on Friday.
Yes.
I'm surprised that the episode of the volley after that news, I'm surprised it was just not the most solemn episode ever, like where they just couldn't give a fuck about the football, smashing up the gaff, just heartbroken.
Just the funeral march playing in the background.
Just tears. Like that, it was a few years ago when Norwich got absolutely tapped by someone 7-0, and their official commentator, he was actually legitimately at 4 or 5-0 started crying when the goals went in, properly crying. Cam Griffin says, Morty, I hear Dan didn't offer you the gift I was willing to give you. That sounds suspicious, and Morty's sharing his concern. Cam says, hi, Charlotte. It's because we've been away so long. Everybody's just like in a big love hug. It's amazing to see.
We unite people on a Monday evening, don't we?
We do. I'm very proud of that. Cam says, you should be, Morty, you should be, but you would also be relieved. Kind of like how Sar was when he shit and vomited at the same time. King Pig Banner says, rum Morty. Morty then says, Storm Neville. Is that what the next Storm's called?
I don't. They go a bit mental with this. I think they go a bit crazy with the storm.
Don't they go alphabetical? Then also girl boy girl.
Oh boy. No. I'm meaning the CWF in the chat.
Oh, you mean like this, like Storm Barry?
Yeah.
Lance Storm, Devon Storm,
Devon Storm.
I don't understand the significance. Is that not a wrestler?
Yeah, it's just funny. It's a funny reference.
Okay. Cam says, "Did you trump a lump, Mags?" Oh, when the
ladder slipped.
Yeah, the best thing is I didn't even fall off the ladder. It just went into the mud. Like 4 legs went, and I lost like 3 inches. And I didn't spill the paint tray. I just nearly painted like my face with the paintbrush. Morty says, Griffin, you beat me to it. Devon, get the tables. So bad. Cam says, was it a hurricane coming through? I think we've still got one of them coming through now. King Pig's says, don't want to give the chickens a complex. Yeah, you know, as long as they're providing eggs, they won't get a complex. The minute they stop, they'll not only get a complex, but they'll also be going in the oven. Connor, I've been cooking a lot with eggs recently. Still can't flip an egg to make an omelette. Can't flip an egg to make an omelette. Does that make sense?
Don't flip the egg, do you? You got to beat the egg and everything first, don't you?
Yeah. Does it? Is that? But you don't make an omelette by flipping an egg. That's what I'm getting. Americans.
Matt Lewis is still in the chat. He does a lot of cooking, doesn't he? I think it's his job.
Well, allegedly.
Matt,
Dr. Matt.
just very briefly, if you can, in the chat, explain to our American friend Connor how you're supposed to make an omelette, because I think he's getting a bit confused, buddy, if you don't mind.
Exactly. Ryan says it's also not a baby chicken, it's a chicken's period, you sickos. Delicious.
Oh, for God's
Morty says apparently Bron Breakker took Brock's spot, if you believe the sheets. Yeah. And he thrived in that spot. I believe he said he's now on the main roster permanently, so it's done him pretty good. The Pat thing was a rib on him. Apparently, Bron Breakker allegedly took Brock's spot. Yeah, I mean that Pat thing. Good on him for if that's true. Good on him for improvising, going in and out. It just felt like a waste of time. It felt like Drew Carey. Do you remember when Drew Carey came in and?
Yeah, that was good though. I liked that.
Yeah, but this felt like a fake copy of it, I suppose. King Pig's also confirming that Bron took Brock's spot. Dan, being as unbiased as usual, says Cody's an overrated sack of rotten dog dicks. Yeah, but he's now the man. No, 2 Royal Rumbles in a row proves it. King Pig's banner. Who's Bork? Bork Laser. That's Brock Lesnar before he had like the brain damage from wrestling. Dan agrees there. Bork Laser.
Bork Laser.
That's Brock post Golden Shower.
Right. Okay. I thought we weren't going to touch upon any of that shit.
Just if you know, you know.
Yeah.
Cam said, did Dan dress up as a Keen?
Oh, I know he didn't, but I wish he had now.
If you and Dan both dressed up as a Keen, that would have been amazing.
There can't be 2 Akeems.
What? There's been 2 Kamalas.
I got told that on Saturday night by someone that I looked a little bit like a Wish version of Zeb Coulter. I believe that was Morty, actually.
Dutch Mantel.
Yeah. I was like, cheers, Mort. Thanks a lot, mate.
That is brilliant. King Pigsbanner says Dean Ambrose was shit.
Oh, that was the dress up cosplay competition, yeah.
So someone just came in jeans and a wife beater.
A vest. Yeah.
Dan says he went as a fat drunk in a Scotland t-shirt. That's the typical wrestling fan get up though. It's almost like uniform. Morty says he also spooned me thinking it was Sharon, but I didn't correct him. Sharon hearing this for the first time in the chat, I believe. Oh dear. Was Sad a little spoon, Morty? Who was big and who was little?
I imagine I would always be the big spoon in my head. Well, with Morty.
It all depends who cuddles who, though.
Yeah, that's it.
Who's the cuddler and who's the cuddly? King Pigbear says it was good to meet you all. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to make the effort to try and join one of the CWF crew meetups. Morty says he managed to be the big and the little spoon. He was all the spoons. Morty was just there like an odd fork out. Cam Griffin says there were limbs everywhere. Morty says Lebanese restaurant was banging, good value too. Oh, Lebanese, that does sound really good. The hotel had a restaurant. The venue showing the wrestling also sold food. So
yeah, did you see how much that was?
Thing.
Did you say? I mean, don't get wrong. They had food, wrestling-related food titles. So it was like the Triple H burger and all this sort of stuff. But they were like, fucking 30 quid for a burger or something. I ain't paying that.
It feels like it was a you problem. That there were options and you chose not to.
I chose Manky Crisps that made me sick. Yeah.
Morty says the food in the bar in the restaurant was out of your eye line, so that's why he didn't know. Dan then says he had to take a shit on the train home. A terrible beer shit. It stunk, and he left the bog, and a young lass who was waiting to use the loo.
Oh, no.
Train poos are always the worst smelling poos, aren't they? You never get like a one that you can hardly smell. It's always the most gopping, horrific smell trapped on a train.
I don't think I've ever had a poo on a train.
I think maybe 2 or 3 times I've pooed on a train. It's not something I would do unless it was necessary.
Mm. Well, yeah, I mean, you're not gonna go and sit down just because you enjoy it that much on the train. The feeling of being rocked back and forth or something and force one out. Yeah, you generally need to have one, but
he might be changing his mind about this, but he says, "Oh, how he's missed this wrestling podcast." 35 minutes in, and we haven't even got to the first section.
Oh, we're gonna have to rush through some shit, aren't we?
Well, it sounds like you rush through a lot of shit in a very quick space of time. Cam also says that Dan, that is absolutely disgraceful, and he said he just couldn't hold it. Exactly. When you're caught short on a train, you have to do the nasty in the pasty. King Pigs Banner says, enough of the shit talk. I heard things last night that I don't want to relive.
Oh yeah, apparently somebody shit on the floor
of the in their room, in the hotel room.
No, this is new information that I don't know exactly what happened, but obviously Dan's in the chat, Morty's in the chat, Pigs Banner's in the chat. Whoever it was who mentioned this online or in like a group discussion thing or whatever. What happened? All I know is that somebody apparently shit on the floor. But yeah, anyway.
You absolute animals. Ryan says, just shit my britches on SmackDown, please retweet. CM Punk. Oh, sad. Sharon says, yes, ladies and gents, that's my husband. Cam says you should never shit on a train, and then says you are an absolute catch. I don't think so. He's fucking punching. Come on, guys. Let's be honest.
100% am. I 100% am.
Matt is jealous here. And that Klopp will take over as England manager. You heard it here first. What? No.
I think he's old. He's got one eye on the Germany job, hasn't
he? Yeah, it's got to be. Either Germany or Barcelona, maybe.
Possibly even Bayern, mind.
Yeah. King Pig Banner says the rocking chair in the hotel lobby. Someone took a shit in a rocking chair. That's evil.
Oh, no, that's the chair he was referencing earlier on. Yeah. Okay.
Ryan says, hey, that's my co-host. I get to choose who does and who does not like him. I did not like him on this last episode. I mean, it's his face. You don't have to like Matt. There's a reason. Matt says the volley was easy to do. Anthony was terrible. Morty says he's American. I just ignored it. Matt says coming soon to the SJP channel, Cooking 101 with Chef Lewis. Get to fuck Chef Lewis. Morty says Sarah basically saying I'm the shits in the kitchen.
Oh yeah, of course. Morty's job's all cooking as well, isn't it? Sorry, Mort. I completely forgot, mate. I'm sorry.
Then Matt says, so there you've got a tag team partner. Then Matt, genuine idea in the works. Matt and Morty destroy cooking. Cam says, can you have Fitch as a special guest, Matt?
Oh, some of Fitch's idea. Yeah, he cooks noodles in the kettle and stuff.
Yeah, some of the stuff that he eats is horrific, especially on the quiz episodes we do. He will always eat something horrific. I think it was a Brussels sprout covered in chocolate. The dirty bastard. King Pigs Banner says I should have stripped and been Bastian Booger. Dan Griffin says the Dean Ambrose cosplayer didn't wash his hands after the toilet either. Oh, Billy Piss Fingers. Oh, no.
Billy Piss Fingers.
Gruffy bastard. Connor says 30 quid for a burger is insane when you can make one basically at home for free. Yeah, but he wasn't at home.
I wasn't at home.
He was miles away.
I was.
It didn't go, oh, I'm at home. Where's the dearest takeaway I can go to? And then Dan says it actually wasn't 30 quid. It was range from 12 to 17. I mean, 12 quid for a burger. It's still
expensive, isn't it?
It's still a bit scandalous. They were pulling your guy's pants down. But I would have still paid it rather than eat peri crisps and shit all over myself. Dan Griffin says, I contemplated doing a Millwall Chris last year and having 2 teas. At 17 quid a throw, that's pretty pricey. Morty says, and I would have bought it for him had he mentioned it. Well, he's proud. He didn't want to. He looked at the board and went, they've put extra zeros on these burgers. Nah, I'm good. I'm on a diet, lads. Dan says, King's Pigs Bladders. Heard someone shit on the floor of Birmingham bus station.
Oh, yes, of course. I remember now. Yes. Oh, actually, he explains in the next comment down, actually. Dan, yeah,
we'll get to that. And Cam accuses Dan of being the person who shit on Birmingham bus station. But it was actually, I was sat on the bus, using the facilities. A couple of lads came in talking about grabbing weed on the way home. One jumps in the cubicle. A couple of minutes later, exclaims that shit on the floor. And with that is sorry, but that's the last of the comments on the list now. So we're leaving it at shit on a Birmingham bus. Amazing.
Yeah, there we go. Bang Bang Andy fell asleep in the toilet, apparently.
On the bus or in the...
No, during the Fatal 4-Way.
Fair enough.
Well, I don't know this myself. This is what I've been told. Apparently, he dozed off.
He falls asleep. He does that a lot, though, doesn't he? He falls asleep at gatherings because he can't hold his like pissy Castleman 4X beer or whatever he drinks.
Castlemaine 4X, bloody hell. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us and that huge collection of comments in the chat. It's fantastic. The interactions are awesome. But we are 40 minutes into the show, and we've not even got onto our first proper segment yet, barring chicken news, of course. So, Magsy, what have you got? Lame or fame?
I've got a haul of lame this week.
And me.
A man links to one that we did a few weeks ago. If you remember, I covered the year 2000 as WCW champion and how piss poor that booking was.
Yes.
And I said that there would be a part 2 because there obviously was. And this time it's the WCW tag team division. They were not immune to the shitty booking of WCW. So we'll go back to the beginning of the year, January 2000. There wasn't a champion because the title had been vacated over the Christmas period because Scott Hall had got an injury, which meant the first champions of the year was David Flair and Crowbar. They'd be Kevin Nash and Scott Steiner in a tournament final. Then they had a decent run of the whole of 15 days before the Marmalukes, which was Johnny the Bull and Big Vito. They beat them on an episode of Thunder. And they had an even better run of 25 days.
Wow.
Before dropping the title to the Harris brothers. They didn't do so well because they only had it for 1 day and they dropped it the very next day back to the Marmalukes, who then held. Well, exactly. It's fucking annoying. It's absolutely annoying. The Marmalukes then held on to them titles for a little bit longer, 35 days, before dropping the title back to the Harris brothers. The Harris brothers did just over 3 weeks, 22 days, before Eric Bischoff and Vince Russo just fucking shit all over the wrestling industry by vacating every single title. So the title was vacated then until April the 16th, when Shane Douglas and Buff Bagwell won a tournament, beating the Total Package and Ric Flair to become the new champions, and held that title for 29 whole days before dropping the belt to Brian Adams and Brian Clark, also known as Chronic.
Brian Adams?
Brian Adams and Brian Clark.
The singer?
Yeah, well, I mean, no, clearly not.
Okay.
Brian Adams, was he not? He was one of DOA, weren't he? Was he not?
Didn't he? Was
Oh,
it him
no,
who
it was
goes?
Adam Bomb. Was he
Yeah,
not
that's
Adam
right.
Bomb?
Yeah.
And he was, and Wrath. Was he Wrath as well?
Yes.
So anyway, Chronic were champion for 15 whole days before they dropped the titles to the Perfect Event, which was part of the Natural Born Thrillers or something like that.
Yeah.
Sean Stasiak and Chuck Palumbo. They then held the title for 40 days, so they did really well before they dropped it back to Chronic, who then held the title for another 35 days, so into New Blood Rising, the middle of August, where they dropped it to the Dark Carnival, Muta and Vampiro, who held those titles for the good old one day and then dropped it to the Filthy Animals of Rey Mysterio and Juventud Guerrera before they were forced to relinquish the titles, and the title was yet again vacated. 25th of September now, Sean O'Hare, Mark Jindrak, two more members of the Natural Born Thrillers, they won a tournament to be the next champions, and they held it for 2 weeks before they lost to the Misfits in Action on an episode of Thunder, and then won them back 3 minutes and I think it was 39 seconds later when they got a rematch. So they were champions twice in the same day. They then held on to the title for 38 days before dropping it to the Boogie Nights, which was Alex Wright and Disco Inferno, who held on to the title for 4 whole days, dropping it back to the Perfect Event, Stasiak and Palumbo. 6 days later, they dropped it to the Insiders, which is Dallas and DDP and Kevin Nash, who held that belt for 8 whole days before dropping it back to the Perfect Event, who then held that for 13 days before dropping it back to the Insiders, who held that, then they held that for 28 days before we get the last. They were actually the last champions of year 2000. The Natural Born Thrillers, Chuck Palumbo and Sean O'Hare, they ended up winning the title the middle of January and then carried it all the way through to the takeover by WWF. So, as I did with the world title, I've got a few little facts about this year of champions. So there were 19 total reigns with actual champions, and 3 times that the belt was vacated. The longest reign was the Perfect Event at 40 days. For comparison, the longest reigning WCW champion, if you remember, was Sid Vicious at 76 days. So that's almost half of the amount of time. The shortest reign I've already mentioned, Misfits in Action. They won and lost the title on the same episode of Thunder. On Thunder as well, by the way.
Oh my word, it's so bad.
And like I said, their reign was 3 minutes and 39 seconds. 8 total reigns lasted less than 14 days. In the 18 days between November the 16th and December the 4th, there were 5 different title reigns, with the longest reign being a maximum of 8 days. And the last fact, like I did with the world title, was the title was vacated for 16 days throughout the whole of the year. Now, 2000, as you may remember, was a leap year, so that gives you 366 days. Take away that 16, that's 350 days total time with champions. Divide that by 19 reigns, it means the average reign of a WCW tag team champion in the year 2000 was 18.4 days.
That's ridiculous.
2 of their biggest titles treat like absolute shit in the year 2000. So, yeah, in the Hall of Fame for me this week is year 2000 WCW tag team champions.
Oh, it's so bad, isn't it? It's so bad.
Really bad. No wonder they went under literally 2 months into the ridiculous.
It's funny though, Magsy, that you mention vacating titles, because there's something I want to talk about now, which wasn't originally going to be what I was going to put forward this week. I had a Hall of Fame, which I'm going to save for potentially next week, or depending on how we go and what we're doing. Last minute, I switched it up because before going live, about half an hour, 45 minutes or so before going live, I read something online that if I'd read this a while back, I'd have been a bit upset, gutted, whatever. And I am a little bit gutted about it now, to be fair. But in all honesty, it just kind of made me more angry and disappointed than anything else. I would like to talk about CM Punk.
Okay.
Now, everyone knows how big a Punk fan I am. Some of the greatest memories in pro wrestling I have are, watching Punk at Money in the Bank when he defeated Cena, the reaction when he came back to pro wrestling on the first episode of AEW Rampage, sitting up watching that live with my wife and my daughter. I'm never going to forget that night. That was such a special moment for me as a big Punk fan. It's not Punk himself. It's his injury record. Because for those who are unaware, apparently in the Royal Rumble event, it's come out in the last couple of hours or so, CM Punk suffered another injury. He needs surgery, and could possibly, if he requires the level of surgery they're discussing at the moment, we won't know more until Monday Night Raw starts later on tonight. He could be out for 6 months. Now, you think about the timing of this. I mean, it's never good anyway, but you think about the timing of this. He's just returned. He was heavily tipped to be the winner of this year's Royal Rumble. Obviously, that didn't happen, but there's big plans going into Elimination Chamber, WrestleMania, and we're building towards the most exciting and financially important, as well as creatively important era in the pro wrestling in the calendar, in the yearly calendar. And they've gone and lost, through no fault of their own, one of their main event players here that was going to be so important going into the biggest show of the year. But it's not the first time, is it? Punk, when he came back to AEW, he won the AEW World title and vacated that 5 days later because he was injured. He then had to vacate it again on another occasion, or he held on to it, and there was an interim champion and all this sort of stuff. And then we get another situation, obviously, where we had the fight backstage and so on. Yes, Punk and everyone else was suspended, but Punk was also injured then too. And the suspension kept him off television, of course, but he was also, even if he was not suspended, unable to appear because he had another long-term injury picked up at that event as well. Now, obviously, CM Punk is, 45 years of age?
Oh, it's in the wrestling world, he's rocking on a little bit.
We all know injuries happen. It's part and parcel of the business. It's not ballet, as Jim Ross frequently says. But for me, it's the stop-start nature of it all now. Punk can't help this. The creative teams can't help this. The promotions he worked for can't help this. But it still is hugely disappointing to me. I was looking forward to seeing what Punk was going to do at WrestleMania, and now that's been took away. I was looking forward to seeing what Punk was going to do as AEW World Champion, and that was took away. I was looking forward to what Punk was going to do in his second run as AEW World Champion, and that was took away. So, yeah, my entrant into the Chain Wrestling Hall of Fame this week, considering the news that broke shortly before we went live about Punk's latest injury, is the recent injury record of CM Punk.
Yeah, and there's someone who is generally nonplussed about CM Punk. He's not somebody who I particularly like or even dislike, even though he has blocked me on Twitter. One of the most interesting things about him coming back to the WWE, apart from just how mind-blowing it was for it to actually happen, was the real life tension between him and the world champion Seth Rollins. All the Philly, stay away, you're a cancer, all that kind of stuff. There was genuine animosity between those two, and that for me made for a very interesting story if that's the way that it was going to be booked, and it kind of looked like it was. So for that to now maybe potentially not be on the cards, and for Punk's whole reason for leaving the WWE in the first place, and about not being the star of WrestleMania and things like that, and him having this opportunity to right that wrong and potentially headline one of the nights of WrestleMania, it's just a bit of a letdown.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly how it is for me. Yeah.
We're not getting that kind of that finality of these years of pent-up aggression. And again, like I said, it's down to him being injured and not being able to maybe work a full-time schedule. In the Rumble itself, he looked very gassed very early in the match. He looked like he didn't look like a wrestler that could go 60 minutes in a match. He was out of breath within a couple of minutes. So, but it is a shame that it's not going to happen. As a someone, like I said, I'm not particularly bothered about CM Punk, but I do see the effect he has on the wrestling world. So him finally headlining a WrestleMania would have been monumental. And the fact that it may not now happen, that I can understand why Punk fans would be incredibly disappointed with that.
Yeah. But there we go. It can't be helped now. We'll have to wait and see what gets said on Monday Night Raw tonight and go forward from there, Magsy, won't we?
We shall.
Shall we? Is there anything in the chats we need to comment on or look at, or shall we just dive straight on into our non-wrestling topic?
say we just ignore those in the chat because they're either being rude, and we've got a lot to get through still. So we'll pick them up later on.
Okie doke, no worries. Let's do our non-wrestling topic for this week.
NWT time. Oh, no wrestling talk here. It's the non-wrestling topic.
Lovely.
Nice. Lovely. Nice.
Ooh, lovely.
Lovely.
Okie doke. We basically threw out what we wanted from you guys. We wanted you to give us a would you rather, and my word, it was a mistake.
They in equal portions didn't and also very much did disappoint.
Yes. Very true. Very true. We will begin with our good friend Connor at Connor McCabe on Twitter.
So starting with the tame one, or one of the tamest ones in before we get on to the frankly terrifying picks.
Yes. And I'm starting there because I'm going to read them out, Magsy, in the order they came into us, sort of, roughly. Connor says, a couple of them here. Would you rather be converted into a Cyberman and have all of your human emotions removed, or become as disformed as a Dalek?
That's easy. I would rather be a Dalek.
Would you?
Because
a piece of blobby snot.
Yeah, but you sat down all the time. You've got wheels, so you can just roll around willy-nilly. Some of them even fly now. So
your choice is based upon, that Cyberman lark. Bit too much fucking walking for me.
Exactly. But they even fly, and you get that plunger gun thing. Win-win.
Okay. I think if I had to be changed like that, would rather be a Cyberman, because they take away all your emotions and all that sort of stuff. So you're not even, it's not going to bother you that you've been changed, is it?
Well, very rarely does it bother a Dalek that they've been changed. I mean, I only remember that one episode where there was a Dalek with a little bit of emotion, but even that Dalek was a prick and still got to shoot people. So no.
The Daleks. What a load of pricks. Connor also says, would you rather your club lose 12-0 in the Champions League final, or be relegated, breaking Derby County's 11-point record?
That is a hard question.
Oh, I don't think so.
I mean, the fact that you got to the Champions League final, that's still brilliant. Yeah. And losing 12-0, it's a bad night at the office. But Derby County's record, that was a season's bad time at the office. And that's horrific. So I think I would rather get to the Champions League final and get absolutely botted in it than do what Derby did and get botted for 38 matches in the season. So
yeah, exactly. I don't see it as a difficult question at all, because I don't, you get relegated. You got not just that season of shite. You got at least one more year before you can get back to where you were.
That's very, very true. So I was wrong. It was an easy pick, just a horrible would you rather.
I've seen United get to Champions League finals and get not 12-0, but get completely outplayed and not get anywhere near the ball. So I've experienced a little bit of that at least. And the following year, we still played Champions League football again. So yeah, definitely the Champions League one, I think, Magsy.
Yeah, correct.
Matt Butler at Trey Butler on Twitter. He says, "You've been trapped in a Clockwork Orange dystopia and will be subjected to a non-stop reel of matches from the following wrestlers. Who would you rather watch? Happy Humphrey from 1960, the Bushwhackers matches from 1990, Mabel's matches from 1995, Mark Henry's matches from 96, or the Great Khali from 2006.
One, I don't remember Happy Humphrey.
He was a massive, big, fat dude, and he sucked.
Okay, so he could be on the short list. Mabel in 95 was fucking grim.
It was terrible.
Absolutely grim. How they put King of the Ring on him and let him injure so many people. That guy was a terrible, terrible wrestler. Mark Henry in 96 was gash. He was so bad. Great Khali is bad anyway. Doesn't matter what. Just stick a pin in a year and he is a bad wrestler in that year. And whilst the Bushwhackers weren't brilliant to watch, they were entertaining. And I have fond memories of 1990 WWF wrestling. So I'd happily watch the Bushwhackers, I think.
Not happily, the only wrestling you could watch.
Yeah. I'd happily, out of the choices,
right,
I would happily pick the Bushwhackers.
Okay. I would go Bushwhackers too, because I'm fairly certain the year he's picked there, 1990, is that not when they had like a little mini program with the Fabulous Rougeaus? And those guys were bloody brilliant.
Was it the Rougeaus? 1990. Was it not the Beverly Brothers?
No, Beverly's were a bit later, weren't they? Was it Mike Enos still working elsewhere in 1990?
He could have been. Either way, either the Rougeaus or the Beverly Brothers, it was entertaining. As long as they don't have to watch Jameson, then I suppose.
Oh god, yeah, he was a knob.
Yeah.
Pigs Bladders at Pigs Bladders on Twitter. One of the fellows that I met in person for the first time on the weekend, and what a lovely bloke, Mags. Absolute gem, this guy. Spent a lot of time
Apart
talking
from where he shat on a train.
Yes, and then tried to blame it on some poor drug buying children. Spent a bit of time with him because me and him were the only two that were popping out the back for a smoke and so on. So we got to chat a little bit out there. Lovely fella, absolutely top bloke. He says, would you rather spend a romantic evening with Missy Beefcake or Vicky Guerrero? Who's Missy Beefcake?
I'm hoping it's not related to Brutus. I don't know Missy Beefcake. We can search her, obviously.
Yeah, do that.
I'm worried. Missy Beefcake, please don't be. Oh, is this a real? Is that a? It looks like maybe she's a porn star. Playboy Bunny, wife of Brutus Beefcake, and eyebrows that. Yeah. Oh no. And who's the other choice? Vicky Guerrero.
Yeah.
Her voice is fucking annoying as well. This is a bad pick. Romantic.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's worded this in such a way: spend a romantic evening. So Vicky Guerrero's voice, if you were just literally going to sleep with her, you wouldn't need to talk to her, so you can get away with it.
Yeah, but if you take her out for a meal and whining and dining her, I think I'd still have to go with Vicky Guerrero because at least she'll have some interesting stories.
Yeah, that's true.
About Eddie, whereas Missy Beefcake's only going to tell you about Beefcake and Hogan, and I hear enough about them two pair of pillocks. So yeah, it's going to be Vicky Guerrero, but I will not be doing the no pants dance with her.
Okay. I'll go Vicky Guerrero as well. Would you rather wax or Veet your special place? What's Veet?
Veet is like the hair dissolving cream. So you put the cream on and then you scrape it off afterwards.
Oh, yeah, like the plastic thing. Okay.
The applicator.
Which one's going to hurt the least?
The Veet. Does the Veet one not burn? I think it burns.
The wax might be the better option then, because it's like rip it off and done, isn't it?
Yeah, but I've seen waxing, not obviously the meat and two veg, but I've seen waxing go very, very wrong where layers of skin are pulled off.
So the Veet might be a more painful but yet safer option long term.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking the Veet.
Right. Okay. Okay. I will
Minimal
go along with
damage.
you again.
Yeah, I'm
Minimal
going with the
damage.
Veet.
Would you rather work in retail or be Dave Meltzer?
Oh, working retail. That's without a shadow of a doubt. Dave Meltzer is an absolute prick. Absolute prick.
Yes.
And he's a scruffy cunt.
But working in retail, man, it's just... Dave Meltzer gets a lot of abuse online, but he can just turn his phone off. If you're working in retail, you're going to get that abuse all the time because of the nature of your job.
Yeah. But then if you just it's like doing stock taking at the back, you get to scarve.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and I wouldn't want to be Dave Meltzer because it means you'd have to be a prick like him.
Yeah.
So,
and you're a bit funny, ain't you? Because he obviously worked out a great deal and made his arms quite big.
Whatsoever that's one thing he's not. He's funny.
No. But he's funny looking because he's a little dummy with big arms, isn't he?
He's funny looking. Yeah. And the room that he does his work in, it's like an explosion in a paper factory.
Yeah, I've seen that picture. It's ridiculous.
It's horrible. So yeah, I would rather work in retail, I think.
And finally, from Pigs Butters, would you rather eat a Bombay Bad Boy pot noodle or a Greg's steak bake? Now, I like both of those.
Yeah, why not both? What's wrong with that? That's not even a hard choice. I would eat the steak bake as the starter to the Bombay Bad Boy pot noodle.
If I had to choose one, I'd probably lean towards steak bake.
Yeah, because it's more manageable.
But yeah, you could have a Bombay Bad Boy and pour it on top of a really crispy steak bake and eat it together.
That's scruffy. Why ruin two good things?
Why is it scruffy? You're eating the same thing.
No, but you eat like a pudding and soup, but you don't eat them both at the same time.
Yeah, but no, because a pudding and soup is sweet and savoury. This is savoury and savoury.
No, it's still disgusting. In my view, which is always correct. Noodles mixed with a steak bake that's grim. You're ruining two pleasurable moments.
I suppose. Oh, Pig Spiders continues. Sorry, he says, due to Rishi Sunak being unable to grow a substantial beard and him looking stupid with long hair, he has made it law that no one will be able to have both a beard and long hair at the same time. One must be shaved completely. Would you rather be bald with a beard or hair but clean shaven? And I'll tell you what, before we answer, I want to shout out to Sharon, who hopefully is still in the chat, and get her answer on this for me as well. Would she rather I was clean shaven with the hair or shaved bald but with the beard? I'm intrigued. Magsy, which way would you go?
Well, first of all, I'd kick Rishi Sunak square in the fucking nuts for such a ridiculous law that he's put in place. Just because that little pecker dick can't grow a beard don't mean that other people shouldn't be allowed to grow a beard. Now, I didn't always have a beard. I mean, obviously, everybody didn't always have a beard, but this is only a relatively new thing, maybe over the last 5 or 6 years. But I know that when I shave now, I look like an absolute baby. I literally look like a giant baby. And the wife will not let me get clean shaven anymore. But I also like having longish hair. This is hard.
This is the
do I look more
I'm really struggling with.
Do I look more of a prick with a bald head and a beard, or do I look more of a prick with long hair and clean shaven?
You've always got a hat on though.
Yeah, but I have got long hair.
Yeah, okay.
It's in a bun now.
Oh yeah.
I suppose you've just helped me with my answer because I could always wear a hat to cover the bald head. So I'll go with that. I don't want to shave the beard off because I know I look like a massive sexy baby.
Sexy baby. Don't say that, Mags. Not sexy baby. That's bad. I really struggle with this. I mean, that's a little bit of a sidebar, I suppose. We were talking about people going bald and so on the other day, me and Sharon, and she said if I started to go bald on the top, she would just shave my head for me. She wouldn't let me have the whole, thinning out, going bald, and then the long bit at the back.
No,
still.
she would definitely have to Hulk Hogan you.
She
Shave
just,
the top so it's like proper shiny smooth, and then leave you with the
But I said to Sharon that
mullet at the back.
I'd 100% Shawn Michaels it. I'd leave the long hair and just wear a hat all the time. And she was like,
Yeah, but
would
he's
not
now
let me
gone
do
bald. He's actually
Yeah.
given up the ghost. He's gone bald and just wears a cowboy hat.
Yeah, that's it. See, I don't know. A little while back, it was always a case of I'd shave my beard off because my hair's took years to grow, and if I shave my head now, it's all going to grow back grey and probably not grow back as thick as it is to get as long as it is. So it's like last chance saloon for that scenario. But now it's like, I don't know, because now I'm so fat. If I don't have a beard, everyone can see my 45 chins.
That is also a thing.
I think right now I would probably shave the beard off and keep the hair.
I would not want to live in a world where you didn't have a beard.
Would you not, though?
No.
Okay. Sharon, if you are in the chat, let us know your preference on that as well, please. I'm curious as to which one goes. Rob at UTT Rob on Twitter, he says, would you rather never podcast again or podcast 16 hours every day with no days off?
Oof. Now, I've tried both of these, as you well know. And I was actually speaking to the missus today about how she would feel about me if I went back to the same stage where I was podcasting a hell of a lot. And she said unequivocally, no, that is not an option. So I'm leaning towards never podcast again.
I think I would be leaning towards that.
But I would miss your cheeky face, though. But I wouldn't want to see you 16 hours a day every day. Because I just want to punch your face then.
Where would you have time to research as well?
I mean, who researches for this? Not for
this. Not for this, no. But
well, you get 8 hours. You get 8 hours research time before the next 16 hours.
Just
I would rather
Red Bull.
Never podcast again.
Yeah, I think I would write because 16 hours is a long time. I mean, obviously, if it was my job, it would be different. If I was doing this for a living, which is not really an option, there's not enough money, I suppose. But I think I would rather not podcast again, but I wouldn't want to because I love doing this so much. But there we go. Sharon is saying, I think my comment got ghosted. What do you mean? Like we've ignored it or it's got disappeared from YouTube?
I think she may have, instead of saying the word unalive, she's put the word kill, and YouTube or StreamYard have said, you really can't say that word.
I see. I'd unalive the person who makes the law, and then you do neither, my wife says. No, you've got to answer because that's the game.
You can't do that. That's not an option.
You've got to answer. Would you rather me no beard or no hair? That's the game, innit? You've got to give an answer.
Mm-hmm.
5 Nerds Go, which I think when I read that 5 Nerds Go had sent us a message on Twitter with this subject, at 5 Nerds Go on Twitter. First of all, I thought, oh no. But then I read it and I thought, okay, that's not as bad as I thought he was going to be.
No, I'm actually surprised. It's quite tame for Matt, who runs the 5 Nerds Go account, and a fairly easy choice as well.
Okay. I've just lost it completely. Bear with me. There it is.
So
would
5 Nerds Go, says.
Yeah, sorry, go
on. Matt says, would you rather wipe your ass with single ply paper for the rest of your life, or would you rather your balls and todgers shed their skin like a snake once a month? Easy choice for me. The shedding snake skin, I think that would be glorious.
How much fun could you have with that? Because when snakes shed their skin, if it's done like properly, you get like a fake snake, don't you? And it's just made out of skin. You could leave like willies and balls everywhere.
You couldn't have like a little puppet show of willies and balls.
You could.
My missus, she does a lot of resin art, and one of our next door neighbours, she keeps various kind of spiders, tarantulas, jumping spiders, things like that. And Lorraine, who is absolutely mortally terrified of spiders, has actually cast some of their shedded skins in resin for the next door neighbour. So I could get the wife to do bollock and penis resin castings.
I bet there's already a market for that.
Exactly. So I'd make money off it. So yeah, easy choice. I would rather have a snake skin style bollock and cock.
You could as well, like just leave them in really random places. You know, some people like go for a game of leaving rubber ducks in people's houses, or at work it happened. People, they're leaving rubber ducks all over the place for us to find. You could do it with like the shedded skin, can you? You know, just randomly leave it on your mate's dressing room table. You've been knobbed. Look, there's the thing there.
Or on the wife's pillow when she's asleep.
Yeah.
She wakes up to it.
Dashboard of the car, something like that.
How many times could you go around literally teabagging people without having to pull your pants down? There you go. Just ball slap right in the eyes.
There we go.
The Arabian goggles.
Sharon in the chat there saying, I love this convo. Now that Charlie is sat next to me. Let's move on.
Puppet show of William Bowles' quote of the year so far. There we go.
Well, there we go. It's still early days in the year. We'll beat that.
Yeah, we will beat that. We'll beat that before the end of the night.
Yeah. Dan Griffin at Dan Griffin 21 on Twitter. He says, would you rather get a stink face from Rikishi after Taco Bell, or take the bonsai drop from Yokozuna after a curry?
Oh, I mean, there's no winner in that game, is there? They're both horrific. I think I will go for the stink face because at least it's quite short. It normally does the stink face, is there, wiggles about a bit, and he's off. Yokozuna, he sits on you for quite a while. He's pushing that curry shit right into your skin. The stink face would be easier, I think. Plus, you haven't got the laundry afterwards, have you? Can you imagine having to wash Yokozuna's curry shit out of your ring gear? No.
Yeah, the Taco Bell Rikishi stink face also. There's less risk of pain, isn't there? Because Yokozuna landing on your chest could literally destroy you.
Yeah,
so
and your last breaths are of hot curry shit.
And there's a great quote there. Would you rather eat a kilo? Oh, for goodness sake, Charlie, I'm so sorry if you're still listening to this. I really am so sorry. Would you rather eat a kilo of your own shit or drink a gallon of someone else's piss?
Now, I asked this one to the wife just before recording.
Of course you did. Fucking hell.
And she was absolutely disgusted by Dan, first of all. She thinks he's just an awful human being.
So
but she also, she picked the right answer, though. It's clearly drink a gallon of someone else's piss, because chewing down on shit, your own or someone else's, would be horrific. But at least with a gallon of piss, you can chug it and get rid of it pretty quickly. But yeah, eating shit though, I mean, getting it trapped in your gums, it caught in your tongue, burping afterwards, obviously throwing up. Yeah, I would rather drink someone else's piss.
I'm completely on board with that, because you could just try and neck it, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Would you rather?
And go on.
Would you rather neck it straight away, just to get it over and done with, or take the time to put it in the fridge and chill it or something first? You don't want to drink it warm, surely.
Yeah, straight from the cock. No, absolutely not. Not steaming, not a brew. It would definitely. It would be chilling in the fridge, because the cold would take away. It numbed the inside of your mouth and your throat, so it'd take away some of the horrific taste.
You've given this a lot of thought, haven't you?
You have to with these decisions. You can't just go in underprepared of choosing to eat your own shit. Now, would you could have easily had an easy option. This, you could have drunk your own Birmingham shit.
No, I still wouldn't, mate. Honestly, the smell of it made me puke. I'm not going to drink it.
But at least it go down pretty simply.
Yeah, it'd be like a really thick milkshake.
Damn, that is grim.
And Dan Griffin also says, would you rather oh God, again, Charlie, I'm so sorry. Would you rather wank off a horse or get fucked by a dog?
Again, I asked this to wife, and she is sending me divorce proceedings. But she again come up with the right answer. It's got to be wanking off a horse.
Yeah, I think so.
As bad as that is, at least you are not getting destroyed and the shame of the dog being in the side of you. And dogs apparently come pretty quickly, so they are filling you up with baby doggies.
Okay, choice made. Let's move on. Oh my God. Glenn Abbott at G WrestleNet.
The evil. We'll never do this again. We'll never do this.
I didn't want to do it this time. You were like, no, it'll be fun. Would you rather eat a Carolina Reaper chili or snog Dan Griffin?
Okay. Well, I've actually eaten a Carolina Reaper chili, and they're not as bad as people made out.
Okay.
But I've never had the pleasure of snogging a Dan Griffin, so I'd pick that.
Yeah, me. Yeah. I like spicy stuff, but there's a limit. And the Grim Reaper chili is like crazy hot, isn't it?
It's uncomfortable. Don't get me wrong. It is very uncomfortable, but it's doable.
I imagine snogging Dan Griffin is quite spicy as well, though.
And uncomfortable.
Okay, so we both...
Dan says in the chat, trust me, you both rather the chili. The difference is, for me, you can't hug the chili afterwards, and it can't stroke your hair and say it's going to be better, where Dan could. I'm sorry you went through this, but it will all be better. You'll forget this soon, I promise.
You can just go for a pint after, couldn't you?
Yeah, and just drink your memories into oblivion.
That's it. There we go. Sorted. We're both getting all tongue-tied up with Mr. Griff. At Chat Grapple Pops says, spend a night with Madonna whilst listening to Uncle Cracker's X Factor song on repeat, or spend the afternoon sniffing shoes with Tony Atlas. Now, this is easy for me because they don't stipulate old, dirty shoes or brand new shoes. I'd quite happily walk around Shoe Zone or Sports Direct sniffing new shoes with Tony Atlas.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think of that get out clause, so I was not happy, but I had my mind set on singing X Factor over and over and over again. But now you've put that stipulation into the ether. Yeah, I would happily sniff brand new shoes with Tony Atlas.
Yeah.
So yeah, win-win.
And we could ask him to talk us through that snore fest that we reviewed on the show
with Ted Arciche or whatever he was called. That was ridiculous.
Steve-O at Elite FPL _Steve-O. He says, would you rather watch a terrible year in WWE history, all the Raws, SmackDowns, pay-per-views, etc., i.e. 2011, and not be able to watch anything else wrestling related, or your favorite match every day for a year? Again, no other wrestling allowed.
I think if you watched your favorite match every day for a year and with nothing else, you would get to not like that match. Whereas even if you're watching a terrible year in WWE history, there is at least some kind of bright parts of every year. Even the shitty new generation still had some fun stuff. So I think I'd go with the choice of watching a full year's of WWE over watching one match.
And I'd turn it into a podcast as well, because that's just how I operate. But yeah.
This year in wrestling.
Yeah, there we go. At Good Bad Wrestle on Twitter, they ask, this one's for me specifically, and it relates to the first postponement in the last recent weeks. Would you rather record a podcast with a lad from Burnley or watch a footy match featuring 11 lads from Wigan? Yes. Well, obviously that evening I'd rather watch the United game because that's what I did. But
Bastard.
there we go. No, I'd much rather speak to you, Magsy, if everything was all right. and
You're
everyone
an
was well enough.
absolute liar. You fabricated reasons to scarve over the last
Bollocks.
few
Bollocks. Steve-O again, he says. He heard this on Mind Pump. I don't know what Mind Pump is. What's that? Is that another podcast?
It better not be. You better not be listening to other podcasts behind our back, Steve.
You're not allowed. You're not allowed. He says, you have an issue in your groinal area. Only way to be cured is...
The skin sheds like monthly like a snake, because that is a cool issue.
Yeah. You have to take an injection, basically. And the only way to cure this issue is to be injected through the pee hole or in a testicle.
Oh, that's a hard job.
Both are horrific, but I'm gonna have to go in the bollock, mate.
I think down the Japs, it would have to be the way for me, because you're not making another incision, are you? It's already there.
Well, no, because you're not just firing down it; you're sticking the needle in still. It's got to go in somewhere.
Yeah, but it's going in a hole that is already there.
Stop it, my eyes watering now.
I would prefer that than create another hole into a bollock. The bollock is the thing that hurts the most. Any kind of like pain towards them would be excruciating, but at least you can hold your breath and down the needle goes. And there, I mean, if you've ever been catheterized, that kind of thing happens anyway. I mean, I would rather be catheterized than have a kick in the bollocks.
I didn't think of it that way.
So yeah, I'd go with that.
Yeah. Okay, I don't know. Yeah. If the prick of the needle isn't actually piercing
It's dead tiny.
Yeah.
Not if it's like a big fuck off thing like that where you can
No.
see the liquid. Oh, but yeah, down the piss hole.
Yes, okay. Steve-O continues. Stole this from Carl Pilkington. You're both in the jungle. Sai is bitten by a deadly snake on his penis. There's a lot about cocks, isn't there?
They're very sexually frustrated, I think, the CWF.
Yeah, there's a lot of cocks. Sai is bitten by a deadly snake on his penis. Only way to save him is by sucking the venom out through his pee hole for 5 minutes. In brackets, he is clearly getting aroused. Do you save Sai's life or let him die, Mags?
I would send my condolences to your good lady wife.
So just for 5 minutes of uncomfortableness, you'd leave my children without a father. You bastard.
Either that or I'd say to your good lady, I had to give him a gobble to keep him alive, and then she wouldn't want you back anyway. Because she couldn't compete.
Because your gobbles are that high quality, yeah? Fair enough.
Well,
so it looks like I'm dying. Brilliant.
You never go back.
Yeah, that didn't work, but never mind.
No.
At Jimmy Evans, for real on Twitter, he says, would you rather be a superhero or a super villain? Now,
See, these are sensible ones. You know what? Good on you, Jimmy Evans, for real.
See,
not like these set of wankers who fucking give us ridiculous, horrible things to think about. He's saying superhero, supervillain. Brilliant.
I read that and I thought, well, superhero, obviously, it's quite straightforward. But then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, no, if you're a superhero, the superhero, it's a lot of responsibility, isn't it?
Yeah, and a supervillain has way more fun.
Yeah, I probably would be a supervillain. But because I'm quite lazy,
you don't have to worry about consequences because they never do. You don't ever go to prison or get. You just have to. You just have your plan foiled by those meddling kids, don't you? So yeah, supervillain. Supervillain.
Quite often when you see the villains, they've got cooler outfits, cooler cars,
cooler weapons, and gadgets.
Yeah. Oh, that's easy then. Villain.
Yeah.
Thank you, villain. Jimmy. At Yam Alright on Twitter, he says, would you rather get licked by a bushwhacker or take a pit stop from the Nasty Boys?
Easy. Again, get licked by a bushwhacker. I am not sniffing the Nasty Boys' armpits, and all they're doing is licking your head. So, yeah, easy.
Did I tell you about the time I got licked by a tramp in town?
I think you might have done, but I always enjoy revisiting your horrific stories.
Yeah, this tramp just came up to me. It was in a chicken place, and we were all out on the piss. And he just walked up to me and just licked my arm for some reason. And I freaked out completely, like swung for him, and it was horrible. But yeah, just came over and just laid his head down on the counter and licked my arm.
How, like, roughly licked, like slobbered over your.
Oh yeah, like proper, like
poke.
yeah, a little poke.
Oh, blah.
Yeah, I was just like, what the fuck? I went home and scrubbed my arm with bleach, and the wife was like, what the hell are you doing?
I've just been licked, damn it.
I've just been licked by a tramp. Finally, as well, from Twitter, unless there's any that I have missed, Magsy, yeah, I'm all right, continues and says, would you rather be in a world-famous band playing music you don't like and make loads of money, or play in a band playing music you like but make a few quid playing in local pubs? Make me rich, motherfucker.
Rich, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. No scruples about that whatsoever. I would rather have shitloads of money and play wanky music than be pleasured by my own artistic integrity and skint. So yeah, absolutely.
100%.
I would rather be rich.
100%. That was quite easy, wasn't it? It's almost like they're trying to put us in some kind of, conflicting situation of our morals or anything like that. But we haven't got any. Just make us rich. It's as straightforward as that.
And not have to wank off horses. We're happy with that.
Well, yes, indeed. Let's leave that well alone, shall we? But there we go. Thank you so much to everybody who has messaged in to the show, giving us these would you rather situations, as grotesque and as horrific and as cringeworthy as some of them were, knowing that my daughter is watching, for goodness sake. But there we go. Shall we dive into the chat and see what people have been saying, Magsy, before we get on with a little bit of wrestling talk? Because apparently we are a wrestling podcast.
I've got to find where we actually got up to on the chat. How about this? Cam says he's at the start of 1997 and the cruiserweight division is still class. Tag team division is strong and the singles titles are ruled by the NWO. I don't want to get to 99 2000. Yeah, just pretend it ended in like 1998 and don't watch 99 2000 because it's grim.
On that note, this coming Friday, Nitro Nights returns.
I saw a little peep of that in the green room that one had been recorded. I give a little fist bump.
There's a couple of others that have been recorded. Well,
oh, that's amazing. Good. I'm glad to hear it. Dan Griffin says he still maintains the build to the Great American Bash 2000 is some of the best wrestling TV ever. Yeah, but then they enter the ring and the bell rung and it shits the bed.
And Kevin Nash.
Yeah. Dan Griffin, after your Hall of Fame, putting CM Punk and his injuries in, calls him chronically malingering Punk. I mean, that's better than the chronically masturbating Punk that most people call him. Cam Griffin says he imagined that's the burp that came out before Sa chundered on himself.
At the end of the non-wrestling topic, but right.
King Pig Banner says we need to get Mags a mobility scooter. Keep hinting to the family to get me a mobility scooter. It is my birthday soon, so
there was one for sale on like on Facebook. You have like Gloucester selling sites, Treadworth selling sites, and stuff.
Oh, that's good for me in Burnley, 200 miles away.
Yeah,
did it have a lot of charge? I could ride it up.
Well, it's only like 50 quid.
The M6.
Just get your wife to drive down. You can jump in the back on the scooter, and she could tow you home.
On the M6. Jesus.
Yeah. What's the worry about?
King Pig Barris says put the noodles in the steak bake. Then it's not a steak bake, is it? It's a noodle bake. Which sounds you have an affinity with noodles mixed with stuff, don't you? With your cheesy woogles and.
Well, that's more for Charlie. Yeah, I made her something else the other day. When my parents, well, not my parents, my mum is vegetarian. So when we went over to see her on Boxing Day, she had, she puts a little spread out. So there's snacky bits for us all to pick out and all this sort of stuff. And there's, obviously the turkey and chicken and whatever. And there's also a bit of her corn stuff that she orders as well, and a lovely nut roast and all this sort of stuff. Charlie tried some of the corn stuff and thought it was bloody fantastic. Now, she loves meat, don't get me wrong, especially the bacon and so on. But this corn stuff, I bought some that you can microwave in like 3 minutes. Chuck it in some instant noodles. Thank you, my love. My awesome wife just bringing me a cup of tea later. Isn't she lovely?
Actually brought the razors to either shave your head or beard.
She has not. No, she has not. But yeah, I mixed these corn chunks in with the 3-minute quick noodles and whatever. Massive bowl of grub for her. She loved it, mate. So yeah.
Do you know, my missus is vehemently against anything vegan. If she sees a vegan label on anything, she not interested in it whatsoever. But I tried some corn. They were almost like fake chicken wings, hot and spicy chicken wings.
Okay.
They were bloody delicious. Absolutely delicious. She wasn't happy that I got him, but I enjoyed him. So yeah, I would happily be vegan if that's the kind of standard of fake meat that you can get.
Oh no, I'm not saying I go that far. I mean, my two youngest girls.
Too far, Tony.
My two youngest girls have asked me to cook a fry up for tea tomorrow night. So yeah, we're going like sausage, bacon, black pudding, the whole shebang. I couldn't live it like that.
You can get fake bacon and fake.
But I don't want that, Magsy. I don't want that. I want the real one.
That's fair. King Pig Banners then says his missus won't let him shave the beard off. Yeah, man. So when my beard gets a little bit scraggy, I don't grow mine to the length that Sarah does because I hate the itchiness of them. So when it gets a bit scraggly, I'll say, "Oh, will you shave my beard this like to now or whatever?" And she will never let me shave it less than a number 3 because she doesn't like me like looking like a big ass baby. So she won't let me shave my beard off now.
Fair enough.
Connor says the day Sar shaves his beard will be the day the fucking world comes to an end. Exactly, yeah. I won't look at you. I could not look at you the same without a beard.
See, this is quite short for me. This has been cut back and trimmed back by Sharon.
And I'm not happy at it.
Oh, you're not? You don't like it, no?
No.
Have you seen how much grey is there now? Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at all that grey.
Sar, look at that. Yeah. Have you seen how much dark is there now? Look at that.
What? Put grey patches and make one complete brown beard and one complete grey beard, couldn't we?
Like half and half.
Yeah, that'd work.
So Sharon again says, we'll go back through this, says, think my comment got ghosted. I don't know have the person who made the law, then you do neither.
Yes.
And then when she said she has to make a choice, she says she answers to no one.
It's very true.
So,
she did send me a screenshot of her original comment, and you were spot on, Maxie. She'd killed the person, so that's why obviously why YouTube removed it. So a little note for everyone in the CWF: don't threaten to kill anyone in the chat because your comment will not come up.
Or if you do, say it unalive.
Yeah.
If you are going to threaten to murder, use the word unalive. Dan Griffin says, Mrs. Maggs has got him spot on, to be fair, that you are one of the worst people in the world. Sal would have been all right eating his own shit at the weekend. It had been a smoothie. Exactly. Great minds think alike. No. And you were that hungry, you were eating petrol station sandwiches, which are just grim death. You may as well have eaten your own shit.
Okay. I'll bear that in mind for future.
Connor says, going to be paying half attention to the second half of the show, watching Heaven Sent, which is supposedly the best ever Doctor Who episode. Also, being the pod being back, I miss it as part of my Monday rotation, and we missed you too. At least this part did. The Scarving part was probably glad he didn't have to listen to you rambling on.
Actually, Heaven Sent is very, very good, by the way. We have covered it on the Doctor Who pod already, but you have to go back through the Doctor Who pod's own thread to find that. It was a few seasons ago, but yeah, it is a very good episode, yeah.
Dan says to Connor, the show will be back soon. Illness and real life has just got in the way, and it's not just been Sarah, but him as well. It is. I mean, all jokes aside, one of the things that I've always said to the people who I create podcasts with is real life comes first, always. I mean, this as brilliant, entertaining as much as it means to me, doesn't come before health or real life problems. Yeah. So yeah, we do what we have to do. Dan says 5 minutes. Sal would be asleep and done after 2. Yeah, but then you would get the surprise venom / baby batter mixture, which who would want that swirling around the gums? Yeah.
This is a wrestling podcast.
Dan Griffin says, be a super anti-hero, be Deadpool. Yeah, Deadpool. That'd be the great balance. Cam Griffin says, just catching up after shopping delivery. Did I hear Nitro Nazis back on Friday? Yes, come on, the lads. Limo count is on 16, isn't it?
It is. A little bit of news about that, I suppose. We have a third man joining our team to make sure that Nitro Nights carries on and doesn't ever disappear for the period it did recently. Obviously, I've had a couple of issues in recent weeks. Scottish Danny has had a few more long-term problems that he's working through and so on, which is why the show went on a big hiatus. So the theory is that at least 2 of the 3 of us will be available every week. So the first few episodes are me and our new third man, Scottish Danny. We hope will return very, very soon. And there may be episodes in the future where it's Danny and the third guy, Danny and me. And then I like to think for most pay-per-views going forward, when Danny's made his return, we'll get all 3 of us on for the pay-per-views. But we're going to try and be releasing Nitro Nights every Friday now. It's no longer a Thursday show. It's moved to a Friday because we have In the Corner being released on a Thursday. So we moved it to the Friday morning instead. But yes, the first couple of episodes are already recorded and it returns this coming Friday.
And for a spoiler warning, Mabel is that third man. Just to let you know.
He is a big, massive, fat, dead dude is the third host.
Brilliant. And last comment for now, and one that I don't know if I agree with. He says Richmond plant-based sausages are immense. Just made some breakfast muffins for the morning. I've never tried the plant-based ones, and this is why I can't fully disagree with it. But normal meat Richmond sausages are some of the worst sausages that there has ever been. They are terrible, terrible sausages. Meat that is minced to within an inch of its life. Stay pink no matter how long you cook them. Yeah, they look terrible. They taste terrible. I would not eat a Richmond sausages if you paid me.
I'm getting quite hungry now, though.
For Richmond sausages?
Yeah, I think I have actually got some of those, I think.
Well, if you're that hungry, shall we just crack on with this wrestling match and get this,
Let's do it, mate.
show out of the way?
Let's do it.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Here we go then. Here we go. We're actually now an hour and 40 odd minutes into the show. Going to talk a little bit of wrestling. And we are going back to Thanksgiving night, 1987, November the 26th, 1987, which actually is the exact day my little brother was born, which I didn't realize until I started looking at this earlier on. So there we go. There's that. Lex Luger, the United States champion, relatively new-ish to the business, fairly new to Jim Crockett Promotions and the NWA anyway. He'd been working in Florida before the whole Bruiser Brody thing happened, and he decided, fuck that. He is the United States champion, defending against Dusty Rhodes in a steel cage. It's for the United States Championship, as I mentioned, and if Dusty doesn't win, he is not allowed to wrestle anywhere for 90 days, which apparently, according to Magnum TA, will end his career.
Yeah,
odd stipulation, that.
Yeah, they mention it as well on commentary. Tony Schiavone says it's tantamount to career ending. It's a long holiday. We have wrestlers who get injured for longer than that. Yeah, that was a bit of bullshit, weren't it? Bullshit wrestling.
Why don't they just say his career is on the line and just do it that way?
Exactly. And he was the booker, and he booked himself to win. So he could have literally said, "Yeah, Matt, the career's on land." The 90-day thing just absolutely plucked out of his arse, and yeah, it made no sense that they tried to add more gravitas to it when they could have just done that in the first place.
Yes, indeed. Luger is like first, so I know Maxie would have hated that because he's the defending champion. And I mean, in 87, Luger, he's all right in the ring, but the biggest selling point with Lex Luger is his look, isn't it? His hair, the robe, JJ Dillon's walking to the ring with him. He's part of the Horsemen at this point, as I mentioned. Luger looks $1 million here. He looks every part a main event wrestler. Obviously, once the bell rings, it's a little bit different. But here, to look at what this guy is how you design a wrestler on a computer game, isn't he? He looks incredible.
Of course it is. I mean, he's got an 8-pack. The guy has got that many muscles. He absolutely did look the part, and in a time when perhaps the wrestling technique maybe wasn't as prevalent, he was definitely a main event level wrestler.
Yeah. Dusty makes his entrance and looks the exact opposite. He is obviously the way Dusty looks. He can never be described as a body guy, could he? Let's be fair. And he's got tatty tape on around his knee. He looks just a bit of a scruff bag, but that was part of his appeal, wasn't it? And
he was a common man.
Exactly. The fans adore him, don't they? I mean, so much of what he does here gets a reaction from the crowd, and so much of what he does is subtle or not that big a deal, but still gets big pops and big reactions. And he climbs to the top of the cage to wave to the crowd, and they're just lapping this up, aren't they? They're loving seeing Dusty.
And when he did that, the first thing that stuck out to me was how teeny tiny everything was back in the olden days. The ring was really small. The cage was 10 foot, which sounds a lot, but when you're stood on the top of the top rope, Dusty can literally lean over the top of the cage. There's very little climbing needed to be done. He could essentially move his weight and tip over the cage. So just everything looked very, very small back in the dark ages of wrestling.
It does indeed. The purpose of the cage here for this match is very much to keep the Horsemen out. I don't think you can win the match by escaping the cage.
It was pin. It was just a pin win.
There's also rope breaks, because most cage matches now are basically fought under no DQ rules, aren't they? Anything kind of goes. But this is very much an ordinary wrestling match, effectively with a ring fenced off to stop outside interference. And Dusty Rhodes' long-time feud with the Horsemen, his battles with Flair and all the others as well. We know the crack. The Horsemen always interfere and so on. So it's done in a way to literally keep the Horsemen out, which I love because it's so sensible and it's just good storytelling, because you have a few matches where there's interference and then the cage is needed, and it's a big selling point for when you get to the bigger events. And this is what I love about this era of professional wrestling. The way they told stories, for the most part in the territory days, because it was all based around the live events and generating ticket sales and then eventually pay-per-views, this was the first pay-per-view promotions, by the way. Everyone else was on closed circuit television before this. The way they tell the story of, okay, well, this happened and then this happened, but we're going to take that away by putting the cage here. So you have to watch now because we're going to have a winner. And then put Dusty's 90-day career or whatever issue on the line as well. It's basically telling people, buy this pay-per-view. And I love the simplicity of the business model here, Max.
Yeah, and it shows the effect that it had on the wrestling business, because this is when WWE started to put pay-per-views on themselves and essentially blackmail the pay-per-view companies that if they didn't show WWF content and showed the NWAs, then they would be blackballed from future WWF pay-per-views. So it certainly had the big wigs at the WWF at the time very, very worried. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of a change in the wrestling landscape, I suppose.
Yeah, and it is literally what's happened with this event. The WWF were running Survivor Series on the same night, and they put Survivor Series up on the same night as a direct response to Jim Crockett Promotions promoting Starrcade. They wanted to stop that happening. And there was various, it's not like now, like, I mean, I don't know how it is in the States anymore, but here in the UK, you want to book a pay-per-view, you have your pay-per-view provider, whether that's, if you're with Sky, you get it through Sky. If you're with Virgin Media, you get it through them, and whatever. It's not broken off into different markets, whereas in the States, you had lots of different markets for different areas of the country. And these pay-per-view companies were told, if you carried Starrcade, you couldn't have WrestleMania, which would have been WrestleMania 4 was the next one. So you think of the WrestleMania they've just come off, WrestleMania 3 was
Massive.
the biggest show in the history of the business up to this point. The majority of pay-per-view companies basically shit themselves and refused to carry Starrcade and carried Survivor Series instead, which ended up with the pay-per-view buy rates being the WWF's Survivor Series show receiving over double what Starrcade got on the same night. Again, it's clever, but it's so underhanded, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it shows the dark undercurrent of wrestling. But to be fair to the NWA, to get half of the viewer numbers of a WWF pay-per-view, where WWF have threatened all the pay-per-view providers, that I think is great business for them. It shows that the fans were massively loyal, that if they only had one or maybe two options across the country to be able to get hold of this show, and they still went out of the way and found it. So props to them to at least be a little bit competitive in the face of so many obstacles put in the way.
Yeah, without a doubt. And also, I mean, I just want to very quickly run through the card that was this pay-per-view here, just to give you some of the names and the matches that were involved in this. To give you a bit of a time frame, as I mentioned, this is the very first Jim Crockett Promotions pay-per-view ever. Ron Garvin is your world champion. Ric Flair is challenging him in the main event, which is a big deal because the fans didn't accept Garvin as world champion and everyone wanted to see Flair beat him. But just have a little run through this. The UWF has just been bought out by Crockett as well. So he's just bought the UWF promotion, which was originally Mid-South, and acquired a lot of talent from there. So you had a 6-man tag to open. Eddie Gilbert, Larry Zbyszko, and Rick Steiner taking on the Fabulous Freebirds, with Jimmy Garvin and Michael Hayes, and a very young Sting. Steve Williams wrestled Barry Windham for the UWF Championship, which eventually got...
Who won that match?
Steve Williams won that match. Fuck off, Max. You had a Skywalkers match, which at the time, you go back and watch those, they're incredibly
awful.
Dated. Yeah,
they're
but at the time,
I think we've covered one before, haven't we? Covered the one with the Road Warriors in.
Yes, yeah. At the time, it was something new and unique, so it was a draw. You watch them now; they have not aged well in the slightest. But you look at the names involved in this. You had the Rock and Roll Express taking on the Midnight Express, and you also had Bubba Rogers or the Boss Man and Jim Cornette at ringside as well. So that's a big draw. Terry Taylor, but he is taking on Nikita Koloff, and this is to unify the NWA and the UWF television titles. So that's a big deal there. Arn and Tully, one of the greatest tag teams to ever do it, take on the Road Warriors for the World Tag Team titles. Again, that's huge. And then Chicago is where the Road Warriors are from as well. And obviously we've got Dusty Rhodes and Lex Luger here, and then Flair and Ron Garvin in the main event. That card is stacked. It's ridiculous how good that card is.
In this era, that's a WrestleMania level card. It's massive.
It's insane.
It's just huge names, all top to bottom.
Indeed, it's absolutely
Barry Windham.
Oh my god, you absolute melt. Johnny Weaver, former NWA wrestler.
Yeah, I didn't know this guy. Who the fuck was this guy?
He wrestled in like the 60s and 70s, and I think into the 80s a bit. And he had a couple of tag team runs in like small territories and so on, proper like journeyman wrestler. But I think he was from that area anyway, so it was a bigger deal for those people. I've never seen any of his matches or anything like that, but
yeah, they the commentary made a really big deal of him being the guy who will keep hold of the key to the cage. That lasted long, but also he influenced Dusty's sleep hold. He was apparently called the Weave a lot. Looks exactly like a normal sleep hold, but puts people to sleep a lot quicker, apparently.
Well, yeah.
Kind of like bullshit. Because Dusty did it about 3 or 4 times in the match, and it didn't put Lex Luger to sleep one time. So
no, but there we go. the match begins with a lot of posturing and so on, as these big matches in this era did. Then Luger gives us a flex, showing off all of his muscles and so
the
on.
crowd loved it. That was probably Luger's biggest pop.
I mean, they're in this is Luger's hometown as well, isn't it? He's from Chicago.
It's Chicago, yeah, they mentioned that. Yeah. And when they mentioned his name in Chicago, they booed the fuck out of him. Absolutely. Like, booing the hometown, it's unheard of nowadays.
Yeah, exactly. Dusty gives a little bit of one of his funny sort of strut efforts, and the crowd go wild to that as he's responding to Luger's flex. We get the standard Dusty Rhodes punch, big elbow kind of thing, and the crowd go mad for that. And then we get the first of these sleeper attempts that you mentioned, Magsy, and again the crowd go wild for that. Everything Dusty does, they're just going crazy for, aren't they?
Yep. Even when we get the armbar and hammerlock rest periods in the match, the crowd are still absolutely wild, even though there is fuck all happening in the ring.
Yeah, it's great though, isn't it?
No, this is my bugbear with this match.
Okay,
Dusty. He absolutely deserves all the plaudits that he gets for his wrestling intellect. We wouldn't have half of the match stipulations without Dusty. He's just, his legacy can never be underestimated. But in this match, he was like John Cena. He had 5 moves, and that's what he fucking stuck to. The match goes about 16 minutes. 16 minutes, give or take. It felt both short and incredibly long at the same time because there was just so little that actually happens in the ring. There's an armbar, the first armbar / hammerlock section. It goes on for genuinely 5 minutes out of 16 in-ring minutes. There is 5 minutes of Lex Luger being in an armbar / hammerlock. And to make it worse, Lex Luger is taking breaths like he's having pregnancy contractions. It's so absolutely annoying. I hated it. I absolutely hated it. He's literally there going whilst his arm is being wrenched behind his back. And he does that all the way through the match. Every time Luger is in peril, he's having these fucking contraction palpitations. It's just so annoying.
I get the impression that our markings at the end of this is going to be slightly different.
Maybe. We'll see.
Okay. Luger fights back from the armbar and so on and sends Dusty into the cage, which allows the standard NWA blood spot here.
Yeah, which he does in full view of the camera. You can literally see him blading. Ridiculous. And then when the blade doesn't flow that quick, you can literally see him mouthing to Luger, punch me. So Luger punches him to make the cut open. So yeah, he hid nothing. Absolutely hid nothing. It's worse camera work than Kevin Dunn on early WWE. But it's Dusty. He has to bleed.
Yeah,
he can't have a match where he doesn't bleed.
Did you see as well how when we got the spot, you know, whenever any wrestler has a bit of blood in a cage match, the opponent naturally then grabs them and rubs their face into the cage itself. It still happens now in present day. But we had a wider shot of the ring at that point, and you've got all the ringside photographers working for the magazines, and they all scarper around to that side of the ring to try and get their shot. That was a great image for me, seeing them all run about trying to get the picture, you know?
And it's also good how Dusty waited for the cameras to be in position before he collapsed to the floor after that spot, because he was kind of contemplating getting back in the ring. You could see him almost putting his leg up to go through the middle ropes and then flop to the floor. Yeah, kind of takes you out of the moment a little bit.
See, I don't know. I love it. I love because it's a different era. They're not playing to the TV cameras as much, are they? They're playing to the live crowd. This is the first time they've done it. Well, yeah, this is it. Yeah. So, Luger does go for the rack at this point, but Dusty manages to escape by getting hold of the top
He
rope. and so on.
manages to escape. No, he didn't. He managed to escape because he was very rotund, and Luger could not pick him up. And he got
Very
him up.
rotund.
He got to the point, because if you imagine the torch rack, Luger usually has hold of the neck and then the legs and kind of pretends to be stretching them.
Yeah.
Luger could only either have hold of A, the neck, or B, the legs. He didn't have the wingspan to have both. And eventually, Dusty's belly and arse gave way, and Luger had no option than to put him down because it just wasn't going to work. So that says, if you were ever in a match with Lex Luger, just be fat. Just be a fat guy, and he'll never be able to give you. He'll never be able to get you up in the torture rack.
Oh man, just be fat. There we go. What wonderful life advice. We get some more punches in the corner from Luger, which then Dusty doesn't respond to. He starts no selling these.
Proper no, literally looking at him whilst being punched and punch.
And Hogan gets a lot of shit for that, but Dusty did it all the time as well.
Yeah, at least Hogan makes a song and a dance about it. Dusty just literally stood there and just in Lex's face before his punches are that amazing that they knock Luger loopy, but not the opposite way around. The no selling bitch. Dusty. See, this one match is unraveling all of the mystique of Dusty Rhodes being a great professional wrestler. Because if this was the only match you saw, he's shitter than John Cena. That's the facts.
Oh mate, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Dusty fires up then and starts using the elbow and so on, and both wrestlers hit the deck. They're down. Before we get back up, and Dusty does apply the sleeper, gets a big pop. And this is when JJ Dillon gets involved. Standard Horseman shenanigans. He tries to get the key from the ringside support, whatever the guy's name was. I can't remember now.
Johnny Weaver.
That's it, Johnny Weaver.
Who was meant to be hard and got JJ Dillon, of all people, was able to knock him out and get the key.
He was, but he couldn't open the door.
Yeah, he dropped the key like a pillock. He absolutely, what a bell end. And then he throws a chair like a girl. That chair went into the cage through luck more than skill, because it genuinely hits the top of the cage, and the momentum of the chair carries the chair over the cage. And where does it land? It lands on Dusty. And it wasn't meant for Dusty, it was meant for Luger. So Dusty has to magically reposition the chair whilst pretending to be out for the count with his foot to put it in place, ready for the finish. It's ridiculous.
But then we're at the finish, aren't we?
We are.
The ref is dealing with JJ Dillon, and he's had a bump and he's slightly distracted. Luger walks over to pick up the chair, so he's bent over to go and grab it. Dusty jumps up, grabs Luger, who's bent over, DDTs him on the chair, gets the pinfall.
The second DDT pulled off in the match. Let me just add, and both of them were terrible DDTs.
Oh yeah, he didn't have a good DDT, did he?
And also, we've glossed over the fact that Dusty, as the white meat babyface, slaps Earl Hebner,
right?
Pushes him into the corner. We glossed over that bit, but he definitely showed his Hulk Hogan tendencies there. But yeah, he does, doesn't he? He gives Luger this piss poor DDT onto the chair and gets the pin. Amazing.
Well, there we go. So,
and then doesn't celebrate much, just fucks off. Fucks off. His day was done. I've won. Away I go.
Yes. Well, they were running out of time on the pay-per-view, apparently. You look at the Flair match in the main event, that only goes like 16, 17 minutes as well. So I think they were restricted for time, but there we go. So then, Magsy, to summarize, out of 10.
So we had Luger, who we know isn't the best of wrestlers, and we had Dusty, who booked himself to win against the new up-and-coming star, which is a shitty trick in the first place.
Standard Dusty.
And 2, legitimately only did 5 or maybe 6 different wrestling moves in the whole of this match. It was clear that he bladed. He no-sold like an absolute twat. His DDTs were terrible. 6-minute arm bars, horrific. This match has everything to say that it should be low ranked, but I actually enjoyed watching it just because of how bad it was. So I enjoyed the ridiculousness of this match because it was ridiculous. But it was fun. It was fun to watch. So I'm giving it a 7.
Oh my word, really?
Mm-hmm.
I've got 7
Because
as well.
that's the thing. A match doesn't have to be technically brilliant to be entertaining.
No.
And this was entertaining. It was, even with all the shenanigans and everything going wrong, and the fact that there was 3 or 4 minutes of wrestling stretched out into a 16-minute match, whilst also looking like it could have done with 10 to 15 minutes more. I bloody enjoyed it. So I'm happy giving this a 7.
I've gone the same. I've given it a 7. I love this era of wrestling for numerous different reasons. A lot of it here just doesn't quite hit, which is a shame. But at the same time, I still really enjoyed it. I loved how hot the crowd were for everything Dusty did. The guy was so charismatic, wasn't he? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Luger plays his part as well. I thought the finish, whereas the DDT was shite, the finish was quite inventive, quite clever as well. And I like the fact that he gets DDT'd on a chair and doesn't kick out at fucking 2. Young Bucks, I'm looking at you. And it's just everything I love about this era of professional wrestling is here. The story is more... I think the story and the build-up to get to where they are, and then where they go from here with Luger in the Horseman and Wyndham coming in, taking his place and so on. The storyline at this time is just superb. Brilliant wrestling television. Yeah, I mean, for 16 minutes or 15, 16 minutes, I was pretty entertained. So 7 for me as well, Maxie.
See, you thought I was going to shit all over your Ye Olde style of wrestling, but I actually enjoyed it.
There we go. Look at that, eh? So, where would you like to head next week?
So, like I said, I enjoyed this dip into the world of black and white wrestling. So much so, I think I'm going to stick there. And it's certainly not because I'm sick of you winning with this style of wrestling that I'm going to try and win with this style of wrestling as well. So
I'm serious? You're gonna stay in this time.
So I'm going with a Starcade match. It's a Starcade a little bit closer to us, but not that much. It's 1990 Starcade, and it's a match I don't think that we've covered, but we may have, and I can't remember. But the big story going into 1990 was the Black Scorpion and him tormenting Sting. So I think we go to the blow off of that, where we see Sting facing the Black Scorpion at Starcade 1990.
Oh man, it's just such a brilliant slice of WCW stupidity. It's fantastic.
Isn't the 2 Scorpion masks in the match?
I can't remember. I remember it's Ole Anderson over the microphone though, going Sting.
Yeah,
Sting,
basically doing the Shotmaster stuff.
Yes, yeah,
it's literally the same voice.
And there's so much we can dive into as well with the behind the scenes story of that, because they start the story with this whole Black Scorpion mystery opponent.
Yeah, because it was meant to be someone else, weren't it? And the storyline doesn't actually make sense because of things that have happened in the build-up.
Yeah. And but the issue was when they start the story, they don't know who the Black Scorpion is going to be.
So they were literally writing it on the fly.
Exactly.
They were Vince McMahon on an episode of Raw.
Yeah, exactly. But this is all building up to their biggest event of the year. It's so much WCW silliness in there. That's gonna be fantastic. Okay. I am going for something I have never seen before. And the way I selected this was I thought this is a cage match. We've had elimination chambers, we've had Hell in the Cells and all that sort of stuff, but bog standard ordinary cage matches, we've only had a handful. We haven't had many in our 140 plus episodes of Chain Wrestling. So I just literally went online and typed in the best cage matches in wrestling history, found a top 20 countdown, started at number 1 and went backwards to find The first one I had not seen, and I was just like, the steel cage is going to be my link, and that's what we're going to do. So the list I found, the first 6 I had seen. So at number 7 on this list of the greatest cage matches of all time takes us to 2004 TNA Turning Point, and it's the tag team of Triple X, which is Elix, Skipper, and Christopher Daniels, and they are taking on America's Most Wanted, and that's Chris Harris and James Storm, and the losing team must disband. They must split up.
Okay.
And again, the link is literally steel cage. And again, this match was selected by this chart as being the highest ranked one I had not seen yet. So I'm quite intrigued to see what happens here. And it's an era of TNA as well that I'm not massively familiar with either, Magsy. So
no, I've been, since we've watched a few TNA matches recently, I've been going on a little bit of a TNA binge on their YouTube channel, where they've got so many full pay-per-views.
Yes, it's amazing, isn't it?
Amazing. But the best thing that they do are the complete history videos. And there's a complete history of the main event Mafia, of AJ Styles as the Lone Wolf.
Oh, I watched that one the other day.
The main event Mafia one is brilliant.
Is it?
Because I didn't know Booker T for about 3 weeks put on an African accent. And it might be the best thing I've ever seen. It's fucking hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. So yeah, definitely go and check out that TNA channel. It's brilliant. Yes,
and that is this pay-per-view is available for free on YouTube as well. So that's the options there. But those are your options for the poll for next week's Chain Wrestling Live. You have Starrcade 1990, Sting versus the Black Scorpion. All the craziness there as well. The crazy way they told these stories, the sort of booking on the fly and so on. And of course, we're coming up to Sting's farewell, so it's quite a fitting look back at very early Sting. Or we head to TNA Turning Point 2004 and a team of Triple X versus America's Most Wanted in a steel cage match. The poll will be up later in the week. The podcast version will be up, I think, Thursday morning. I've scheduled this show to come out for now. I don't know why I'm saying that, because those who listen to the podcast version won't be able to hear it until it comes out on Thursday morning anyway. So that's pointless, Jane. But it'll come out. The poll will be up probably Friday evening-ish with a non-wrestling topic and so on. So make sure you're following us there at @chain_wrestling on Twitter to get involved in the poll and all that great stuff. Okay, Magsy, should we dive into the chat, or do we want to look at how much of a liar Hulk Hogan is?
We can have a quick nip through the chat.
So we have King Pigs Banner saying, let the wrestling commence. And Dan saying, notice how we all shut up when it's time to stop being idiots or being gross or being marks for ourselves. Yeah, because they all settle down to watch two clowns review some historical wrestling, and it's amazing. I absolutely love you all for it. King's Pigs Bladders totally agrees. Then Dan says fuck Terry Taylor. That's the second time today that he has besmirched the name of Terry Taylor to me. I'm quite disappointed with you, Dan Griffin, for that.
Are you a Terry Taylor fan, are you?
Not really. I just don't think he deserves the hate and the vitriol that Dan Griffin and UTT Rob give the guy. I mean, he was a rooster, for God's sake, for the company. Give him his respect. He deserves his flowers.
He was also.
I can't believe I'm advocating for fucking Terry Taylor. He's a prick. Terry Taylor is a prick. He's a poor man's Mr. Perfect.
Stooge for Meltzer as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Dan Griffin says he's voting for TNA. Pretty sure that's the one where Elix Skipper does the mad walk along the top of the cage.
Oh, is it?
That's amazing. That is such a brilliant spot.
Does he go into like a head scissors? Is that right?
Yeah, into almost like a Frankensteiner style, but the timing on it as well, because he's literally falling over and he's still able to pull off that move. So yeah, vote for that. I would genuinely rather watch that than some 1990s Billy Bollocks that I've picked. So yeah, definitely vote for that. Everybody should just watch more TNA. Absolutely. Even WWE again in the act. Yeah, that's something I didn't mention in the Rumble thing.
Yeah.
Gordon Grace being in the Rumble. That was brilliant. And
how great did she look?
She looked. They let her look absolutely dominant. It was a brilliant spot. Dan Griffin says that he hopes it's that cage match, otherwise he will look like a proper prick.
There we go. Okie doke. Before we dive into how much of a bullshitter Hulk Hogan is, we've got a lovely picture here of Dan Griffin and myself from where we were on Saturday, watching the Rumble in this pub, where Pigs Bladders has worked his magic again and removed my beard for everyone. So I don't know if you can make that out very clearly. I will reshare it on the Chain Wrestling Twitter account. But how horrific is that?
Jesus, no. Yeah, don't ever shave that beard.
I will share it on the Chain Wrestling Twitter account at Chain_Wrestling as well for those listening on the audio version later in the week, Magsy.
Well, thank you for that horrific picture that I will now take to my deathbed. Let's listen to Hogan's bullshit.
Well, let me tell you something, brother.
Liar, liar, pants on fire, hanging from a telephone wire. Squirming, pants are burning. When I lie, my hips start turning.
Wow, that's unbelievable. Look, man, I made a mistake.
So, Mr. Hogan has claimed that he was banned from the David Letterman show because he stopped David Letterman from hitting on his wife at the time, Linda Hogan.
Okay.
Hulk Hogan has appeared on the David Letterman show many, many times since he has not even been with Linda. So, yet again, Hulk Hogan just chatting shit.
What a bloody liar. Oh, man. I don't get it. Why does he say things that are so openly able to be
easy
proven
to
as
prove?
bullshit?
Yeah. He just believes his own bollocks, doesn't he? It's kind of like Donald Trump. He thinks that if he says something, it instantly makes it true.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just such nonsense. What a wanker.
And what does he gain from lies like that? What's the end goal of saying that you are banned from the Letterman show? What kind of cred are you going to get from that?
It's a weird type of clout to be chasing, isn't it?
Yeah, the David Letterman clout. Yeah. Not bad.
Oh, there we go. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us live in the chat, messaging the show, getting involved in the non-wrestling topic, voting in the polls, and so on. It's bloody brilliant to be back. I've missed this so much. Mm-hmm. Magsy, where can people find you online, my good friend?
Well, you can find me on TikTok at PodFarmerMags, where I sometimes put up videos of my chickens and their day-to-day life. I'm also on that x.com thing, but I haven't got my cock and balls out. It's just me not replying to messages or not engaging at all, and that's at PodFarmerMags.
There we go. Awesome stuff. Anything I'm involved in, you can, of course, find via the network that carries this show. So that's at SJP World Media on Facebook and Twitter. And you get all your shows via the main SJP World Media feed. But all the shows as well have their own individual feed where you can check out, if you're a Doctor Who fan, not into wrestling, I mean, first of all, why are you listening to this? But secondly, if that's the case, you can check out the Doctor Who pod, which will be returning literally within a week or two. Do not panic, Connor. It is coming back, we promise. Speaking of coming back, Nitro Nights returns this week. And also, looking throughout the week on SJP World Media, you have midweek on Wednesday, the Axe Playlist podcast with Dana and her chap in America, looking at and putting together Spotify playlists for different moods or different artists and so on. If anyone wants to be involved in that, reach out. They're always looking for guests. It's a brilliant listen. Absolutely fantastic people. Benny is back within the corner with Tyler guesting sometimes. They'll have their Royal Rumble review coming up this week, looking at that. We also have Tyler doing a couple of different shows. We have Tyler's Takedowns now on a Tuesday. That will be out the day after we are live in a couple of hours. Or if you're listening to the audio version, go back and check it out on the SJP World Media feed. This week, Tyler is looking back at Bad Blood 1997, the first Hell in a Cell match, and all that good stuff. Also, we have Tyler with Waylon doing WrestleManiacs. It's a live show where the audio version comes out via our network, and they are looking back at the Royal Rumble as well as talking about the WWE Netflix deal and various other stuff this week. So make sure you're checking that out as well. So much going on. It's ridiculous. Nitro Nights on Friday. The waiting room recordings are restarting again as well. So much going on. Make sure you are diving into all that. And also, if you like hearing me talk about stuff, there might be something in the way of a radio show coming up sometime in the future. Keep your eyes peeled on my social medias
Well,
and
if
so
it's
on.
radio, keep your ears peeled as well.
Well, yeah, there you go. But that's all via at SJP World Media. But most importantly, you can find and follow this show itself on Facebook and Twitter, and that's at @chain_wrestling, where you can vote in the polls, send us all sorts of nonsense, get involved in a non-wrestling topic, and all that great stuff. Magsy, I'm off now to see if I can find a bald cap to stick over my head to see if it is worse with the hair or the beard. I'll speak to you next week, my friend.
Barry Windham is Steve Williams' bitch.